Pray for rain, boys. That's where we stand at the moment. The fourth test coming to you live from Manchester. Hopefully not live. Hopefully it's just, 1980s replays all night. That's all we're getting. We will be watching, hopefully, maybe not hopefully, for the first session of day 5. We are hoping for as little play as possible. Rain is the only thing that can save us Aussies, it seems, at the moment. Bit of baseball had us in real strife. Some good innings from Zach Crawley, Johnny Bairstow and the like. We're going to talk all things Ashes, cricket, plus the weekend that was in footy. The top 8 pictures are being set in both codes in the league. The Warriors, they keep winning. Cowboys are in the 8, finally, and the return of Nathan Cleary. An absolute cracker last night in the AFL at the Adelaide Oval. Charlie Curnow boots 10. Blue flag is chat. It is it back. And football, we've got the Women's World Cup down under, unfortunately, without Sam Kerr as it stands. Lionel Messi doing GOAT things over in Miami. The NFL is only 6 weeks away. Running backs, don't forget them. It seems like the market has forgotten the running backs over there. Plus a big final round, a preview of the UFC 291, a few fights from today from the O2 Arena. The F1 Hungarian GP, he's back, baby. Danny Rick will be back tonight, and a little bit of golf chat to finish it up. We do have timestamps here on the YouTube. You can skip the sports that you like. Consider chucking us a subscription on YouTube or our other socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And to get the show going, we like to shout a beer to commend excellent sporting endeavour during the week that was. Shauno, how are you going? Who will you be shouting a beer this week?
Very good, very good. I'm going to shout out Carlos Alcaraz. He won the Wimbledon, stealing it from current GOAT Novak Djokovic. Played 5 sets, played in a thriller to win Wimbledon. I think he's first. He's second Grand Slam.
Second Grand Slam, I believe, yep.
So, great props to him. It was an excellent match. Really pushing the stalwart that is the Joker, pushing him into frustrations, taking, if you've seen the racket getting smashed against the net, an absolute pulverised. I saw some stats on racket smashes, and Joker was well in front of everyone else. He might have the most Grand Slams, but he's also got the most smashed rackets of all time as well. So,
Kyrgios would be far in second, you'd think.
No. But very good props to the young fella, Carlos, starting his potential, changing of the guard, taking over the throne as you will. It looks like he's saying that it's him and Sinner, I think, is the potential. That's his rivalry. That could be the future of tennis, and the future looks bright. It's the first time in, 25 years outside the Big Four that someone had won Wimbledon.
Who's the fourth person in that?
Being Andy Murray.
Andy Murray.
Yeah, because he'd won it 3 times, I think.
Yeah, interesting. The future of tennis does look bright, and especially, let's forget about the future of tennis. Talk about current tennis. Bloke's 20 and he's knocking off the Joker, really upsetting his ambitions to win 4 Grand Slams in a calendar year. That won't happen. Rod Laver, that 60-year-old record stays intact. And it'll be interesting leading into the US in about a month's time.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I'm going to shout the Wallabies a beer, boys. Poor Eddie Jones, he's not having a good run of it as coach, and we're only a few months away from a World Cup. They lost last weekend to Argentina. That's only the 3rd time in history that we've lost at home to Argentina. And they got flogged 2 weeks ago over in South Africa by a South African team which had half their starters missing. Anyone that's listened to the podcast before knows that we sort of swing a little bit more rugby league, but definitely interested in this World Cup. I think it's lucky that we've got a reasonably easy group, so hopefully we're getting out of the group okay, and we're not losing to the likes of Fiji. But it's really dire at the moment for Rugby Australia. We speak at nauseum on the podcast about the state of rugby in Australia at the moment. They have announced as well that Anzac 15 will be revived for the 2025 British Isles Tour. And just wondering how many Aussies would legit make that team if it was based on merit at the moment. It might only be a handful. Bledisloe's next weekend, definitely no high hopes there, but hoping that the beer, courtesy of the Esky, gets the boys in higher spirits.
A bit of morale building, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Jimmy?
Monks, how you going? Who are you shouting?
Yeah, going well. Yes, this week I am shouting Jai Hindley a beer. Probably should have shouted him a beer a few weeks ago now. So he is one of the Aussie riders in the Tour de France at the moment. So he won stage 5 back at the start of the month. Has been racing pretty competitively all the way through the Tour de France at the moment, which is slated to round out tonight as they ride up into Paris. And yeah, he's currently sitting 7th, I think, overall in general classification. So yeah, shouting him a beer for a hard-earned beer after a very long ride across France.
Yeah, I think he got the yellow jersey after that 5th stage, and then he was hovering at 3rd for a very, very long time. But yeah, just didn't have a lucky back end of the tour, unfortunately.
No, that's it.
But yeah, 7th, nothing to sneeze at in cycling's most prestigious event.
No, that's it. I think we're talking about it next. I think part of the reason why he has sort of dropped back is he got caught up in one of the crashes that has happened as well.
Yeah, been a few crashes, a few fans trying to get selfies, sticking themselves out and clipping the riders, and peloton going down. It's nothing pretty to watch.
No, that was stage 15, wasn't it?
Well, that's definitely one from stage 15, and I think there's one happened earlier in the tour as well. So, yeah, it's part of I guess it's part of what is the Tour de France.
Yeah,
well, that's it. It's the atmosphere of having all the crowd spectators like right on the edge of the road there.
For sure.
It's not getting out of the way or wanting the 5 seconds of fame with a selfie.
Yeah, he's from Perth, isn't he? Jai Hindley.
That's a great question.
I think he's from Perth, where kind of notoriously flat, and the bloke that won it, Jonas Vingegaard of Danish fame. Denmark also notoriously flat. So interesting that these guys getting out there and climbing mountains. And shining in the Tour de France. Vingegaard, I think it's his 2nd in a row.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild.
Mop of the week?
Yeah, let's get stuck into it. And it's a big bop.
Now, who are we giving this to? The state?
Andrews.
Dan Andrews only? Yeah. We can't give it to the state of Victoria.
No, it wasn't their say.
Mainly because we can't afford 7 million mops, and not everyone deserves it, quite frankly.
No, I think it's the government.
We can't afford 7 million mops, so we can afford beers for a whole country.
It's all. Anyways, you know who can't afford 7 billion anythings is the state of Victoria. Announced midweek that the Commonwealth Games of 2026, which was slated to be held in the state of Victoria, not in one specific venue, but rural Victoria. In general, it's not going to go ahead, and they had initially sort of looked at about $2.5 billion of expenditure. That's blown out to about 7 billion. And Dan, the man of closing down estate fame, he announced midweek that it's not going ahead.
Cancelled. They've pulled the plug, and from all reports, what I've seen, it's probably been a bit of a shit show on the government's part.
Shocked me.
Yeah, shock. From all accounts, the government made that decision on their own. They didn't communicate or run any of the figures past the Commonwealth group, Commonwealth Games Australia group that was out here running it, and then of course the Commonwealth Games official group, which is out of England, I think out of the UK. So it was a shock to them because the figures, they bid it at 2.6, 2.5. The last one I think was run at about 1.8 and 2, and I think Delhi was the most expensive, like at 4 bill, because they just threw everything at it.
But it was closer to 11 bill, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For Delhi, I was looking at that the other week.
Delhi was the most expensive one, and then they've got projections. They haven't spent 7 billion. They've got projections that's going to cost them 7 billion. So they've pulled the plug. As government loves to do, they've probably extravagated that figure and added a couple of zeros where they didn't need to. And it probably might not have cost that much. But I think the decision, and it's what the Commonwealth Games Australia guys were saying, is why are we doing rural Victoria? Can we bring it back, some of it into Melbourne to cut costs?
Where the infrastructure already exists, we don't have to build new
stadiums. Because I think it was Geelong, Bendigo, and there was 2 others.
Ballarat.
I think Ballarat.
One more?
Yeah, where they basically got to build athlete villages and all the facilities to be able to run the games. So that's predominantly where your cost is coming from, is from the building. But why don't, yes, you can do some of the events out there, but maybe we pace more in Melbourne, suck up the costs, and ease the costs, not cost as much. But I think it was probably knee-jerk reaction and without proper scrutiny of the statistics of the numbers that they were putting together, and they could have probably saved the games and done something else, but they've jumped off the deep end instead of sorting it out.
I agree 100%. It really feels like baby out with the bathwater kind of knee-jerk reaction here. Look, we don't want to get too political. It's a sports show nonetheless, but some of the decisions this bloke tends to make definitely seem to be head scratchers. I thought it would be met with more backlash than what
the Victorians love him.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of, we've been through COVID, the economy's not great, we can't afford this right now.
Yeah. But I think they reason with that on face value. They go, you're saving us $7 billion.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we don't need a sporting event. Yeah. We're happy to save the $7 billion, spend that on hospitals and schools. But the other caveat is it probably wasn't going to cost $7 billion and you probably could have made it cheaper. And you've seen what the World Cup is going to do here, the FIFA World Cup, what the games did in South Queensland, in Gold Coast, etc. Like the amount of benefit that did to the local economy. Like it's worth hosting it and investing in those areas. Like it definitely helps grow those local areas in the economy. That's the reason why they wanted to do rural Victoria.
And I'm sure people in Geelong and Ballarat and Bendigo that owned hotels and pubs and restaurants and the rest,
a lot of it.
They're probably not in the, this was in our best interest camp. It probably would be more inner city Melbourne type.
Yeah.
I suppose the fact that it's the Commonwealth Games as well, and we live in 2023, a lot of anti-colonial sort of sentiment. What do the Commonwealth Games stand for, and what do they achieve? Probably that comes into the political sort of factoring as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Definitely. So there's questions about was the Commonwealth Games dead or not, and
it's pretty close.
But I think it's kind of shown that I think London stepped up straight away and said, "Hey, we'll take it." And I think they're competing with Auckland as the two that are like, we'll happily fill in and take that spot.
It. Makes sense. London would already have heaps of infrastructure.
Exactly. They can just do it.
I've also heard rumours of the Gold Coast who hosted in 2018. Obviously, in terms
facilities are all there.
Facilities. Tourism capital of Australia. There's not going to be any dramas. It
makes sense with Queensland
hotels. Southeast Queensland doing very well. They could do it,
and they've been pushing to what's the sports capital, sports state in Australia. Melbourne's had that name for quite a long time, but Queensland's been pushing very hard to steal that.
I think they're pretty close. I think they're pretty close. Birmingham as well, who hosted just last year in 2022, they actually had to move forward because it was going to be in Durban in South Africa, and they had financial difficulties as well. So it kind of goes back to that, is the Commonwealth Games dying kind of rhetoric? And when you look at it as well, from a world-class athlete kind of perspective, without the Yanks and Chinese and Japanese and half of all of Europe, essentially, the standard in a lot of areas, not all, but a lot, sort of begs to,
But I also say it's a good for those countries. It's a good middle of your Olympic cycle, massive meet. You go there, you compete with, go through a full Olympic camp, let's call it, as part of your prep. So I can see the value also to the athlete to be able to participate in it. Plus they probably, the sports commission, the sports bodies here help funding the athletes to get to those events, having that on their calendar, being able to market them as well, is really also beneficial. So I think it's a huge loss overall.
I agree. I'm in the same camp. Always been a fan of watching it. Kind of breaks up that 4-year cycle.
Exactly.
It's a World Cup year, but if you're wanting to see as well for Aussies, sports-loving Aussies that want to see how our swimmers are going, see how our athletics, track and field athletes are going, that don't always have the spotlight on them.
Exactly. Who's the 100-metre sprinter for Australia? The men that almost made the final for
Ryan Browning.
We wouldn't see him. It'd be every 4 years you'd see him run.
You're struggling to think of his name.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah. You're struggling to think of his name. If it becomes 4 years, maybe you're not getting the Ryan Brownings, showing what they can do.
Exactly. It helps them stay relevant too. So, I think it overall helps with the sport, having a big meet like that. But I get why it's not the Olympics, but it doesn't have to be. Beating the pommies at things is still good for us.
Some quotes there, Max?
Yeah, well, so obviously finding a location aside, this is still going to cost Victoria a fair bit of money.
They get sued too.
Yeah, so they've obviously gone into contract to host the game, so they're going to have to break this contract. So, but all accounts reports that I saw during the weekend in front of me now, it could cost at least 500 million in legal fees. And up to $1 billion in break fees costs. So you're spending the money anyway.
And getting nothing.
And they're spending half of what they said it would cost. Obviously not what's projected,
least.
but
I think there was other reports that said it could be up to $2 billion that they've got to pay out to break out this contract.
lawyers, eh?
Lawyers.
Yeah,
there'd be various sort of. They'd probably have to pay compensation to whichever
What they bid
host
on it
city
in the
takes
first
up.
place if they couldn't do it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, they've obviously they've lowballed, like any good contractor, lowballed the bid. And then when they've come in to do the work, they've doubled the price.
Oh, crap. I definitely shouldn't have bid that. Oh, crap.
That's it.
Yeah, but by all accounts, the last two were under what they actually I guess inflation's been crazy the last month. Take that last year, sorry.
Yeah.
Over the last 12 months, every month, 10% more. So yeah, I get why things are costing more, but
And that does probably come into the general sort of support and feeling around it as well.
Yeah.
If this is sort of pre-COVID times and people aren't getting smashed with interest rates and the cost of living going to down to Woolies and everything costs twice as much as what it normally does, maybe the general sort of feeling is a little bit
from
different.
2.5 to 7. What are the pools made out of gold? Like that's been the joke.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's probably extravagant. Like I reckon 5 was probably more of a reasonable number. Like with what we're seeing and the cost of other things changing, and if they wanted to build all that infrastructure, that's what I think it is. If you don't want to build the infrastructure, save a couple bill, move it into Melbourne. Like you've got all that shit right there for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's it as well. Like that $7 billion might not just be to host the games. That's got to be like running costs to keep these facilities open or whatever afterwards as well. So,
but they're saying there's like 3,000 jobs they're
and
gonna need to be able to run it. Like that's stuff you pay people for, setting up and all the work and all that stuff. Like there's heaps of benefits to doing it again. That $7 billion number is you're paying people in the state to pay them. So
that's it. Like if you're building an aquatic centre out in the regional Victoria, you're going to have to staff that
exactly.
after the games are over as well. So there's long-term costs there that probably weren't considered, but still it's very, very political to sort of.
Yeah, a regional hospital sounds better than a regional aquatic centre. So
yeah, hydrotherapy, bro.
Anyway, from some Aussies, we think that's a mop worthy.
Big time mop. I'm very happy to give this one a mop. 2026, where the Commonwealth Games going to be?
26? Yeah.
I think they might keep it Southern Hemisphere and go Auckland.
Auckland. I'm going to go Gold Coast. I think they did it in 2018. I think they'd go again.
Yeah, Gold Coast seems the most logical answer. Facilities are already there, relatively new. They've already know how to plan a Commonwealth Games. So yeah.
See you then. Speaking of the Commonwealth, hit that button, mates. Yeah, really the only two countries that win anything at the Commonwealth Games. Sorry, Canada. Australia and England. Rain has delayed play. The best 4 words that we will hear today. How long does it delay rain for? A few funny memes getting around, It's this time of the year that every Australian becomes a meteorologist or an expert in Mancunian meteorology. Let's go through what's happened over the last few days. Australia go no spinner. Poor Todd Murphy misses out. First time in 12 years that Australia hasn't picked a frontline spinner. Scott Boland also misses out. The man that should have had his statue built out in front of the MCG after that 6 for 7. Just hasn't really looked as dangerous as he has in recent years. He also is omitted. Cam Green and Josh Hazelwood come in. We bat deep, supposedly, with that lineup. And for England, just the one change. The ageless Jimmy Anderson comes in for Ollie Robinson. I tell you what, boys. I know that they couldn't have picked both Wokes and Wood earlier on because of injury concerns, but how much better do these guys look with those two in the team?
Oh, definitely.
I know Ollie Robinson's test numbers look pretty good. He's averaging about 22 with the ball, but definitely Wood and Wokes makes their attack look a lot more ferocious.
Yeah, and they bat better too. So
Yeah, well,
they
that
definitely add a lot. I just want to give you a rain update from a couple of minutes ago. Still raining, but it's a lot lighter than it was 20 minutes ago.
That's not the update we wanted.
No, but it's still raining, still drizzling.
Good.
Looks like it's going to be raining all day.
Yep, good.
I think
Mercurian meteorology here on Esky.
yeah, the band of hope, as the Barmy Army's been calling it, I think doesn't come through till later this afternoon. So
Yeah.
Bro, I just wanted fucking Dennis Quaid, Jake Gyllenhaal, Day After Tomorrow shit. It's them two in that movie, isn't it? Maybe no Jake Gyllenhaal. I think Dennis Quaid's in it.
yes,
I want to see the North Atlantic frozen over.
Yeah.
No play. Play there is none tonight. That's what I'm hoping for. The Aussies hadn't lost since 1981 at Old Trafford. There's a few draws in there. Maybe 2023 is going to be thrown in there too. We lose a toss again. Ben Stokes, he definitely pretty good at old heads,
4 from 4.
heads and tails. Yeah, get him playing on the pokey machine with you and get him to red and black that shit up. And it seems pretty good at it. We make 3-17. Lots of starts. No one goes on. For once, Uzi Kawaja is the first one to go for 3. LBW Broad, 5.99 for Broad. Saw a good meme, the old Simpsons meme. Davey, no. Oh, sorry, Force of Habit. Uzi, no. Davey, actually, he looked pretty good.
he looked good.
He looked okay.
And then he just tickled one, unfortunately, from Wokes, not Broad, which
No.
was good for him, I guess.
This man getting around too.
Yeah.
Can't get out to Broad if I get out to Wokes.
Yes.
He looked good. And there's been a few knocks like this of Davey Warner where he's made 30-odd, 40-odd, had that 60-odd in the second test.
Gets into a rhythm.
Yeah.
Where you're looking and you think, oh, this is old Davey. This is old Davey. And it just doesn't quite... it doesn't quite go on with it.
Yeah.
It's better than looking at him get out in the first over. I must say.
Single digits looks a lot worse. Getting 30 odds not too bad. I think that was a story of the Australian innings was they got a lot of starts, but they couldn't capitalise on it and transition to big scores. Which on the other side, that's what the Pommies did. The English side, they got going and then they turned those into massive scores. Unfortunately.
Smudger and Mahon both in the same boat. 41 for Smudge, 52 for Mahon. Smudger did have that massive double ton back in 2019. Nearly got out first ball. It's interesting. The funny field placings. I always got taught, high level cricketer, to be if you're on the rope, you're on the rope. And Mark Wood was just in 5 metres and it just sailed over his head. After that first session, that's when I went to bed Wednesday night, and I thought, we're looking okay here, and sort of woke up reasonably disappointed.
Yeah, they got to 300.
It wasn't a travesty, but it just after all those starts,
you look at the starts, you're going, they got 52, 48, 51. You're like, it's like, you've wanted one of those guys to turn that into a ton.
Indeed. 52 for Mahon. He come good in the second innings. We'll get to that in a second. There was a bit of pressure building on him in that. I think before this, he only had 1 ton overseas, and that average just was slightly starting to drop down from a very lofty high 50s down to about 53, kind of a little bit due. He got done LBW by Moeen Ali.
He also hasn't had a lot of opportunity coming out And
he's been an opener, essentially.
He did in this one as well for Usman, but at least he got a decent score out of this one.
Travie Head also looked pretty good, 48 until he hit one down a fine leg. That's 600 wickets for short Broad. Couldn't happen to a better bloke.
I think all 6 of the Pommies that have bowled in this have got over 100 wickets as well.
I did see that. I think as a bowling unit, the most wickets ever by a bowling unit. Moeen Ali has over 200 test wickets.
Longevity, bro.
I suppose.
Should get wickets. We know this.
I suppose. Mitchy Marsh continues his good form. He made 51. Did you see the catch that Pesto took? An absolute worldly diving across low to his right. All he had to do was snick it and make it chest high, 2 glove kind of shit, and he would have put it down because his keeping's been atrocious. The whole Ashes, but that one he plucked it from above a blade of grass.
I think Carey's had probably one of his worst. Of the series, I think it was his worst behind the wickets here. And in this game, I just wonder if they switched gloves. Did Johnny Nicky's gloves or something?
Possibly.
Because, he definitely was fielding a lot better and had some choice words for the media after this one.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And then 20-odd from Carey. Mitch Stark, little bit handy with 36 not.
I think 93 faced.
Yeah.
The important thing out of
Well, only Mana's faced more rocks than Mitchell Stark. Chris Wokes get a 5 for 62. His first 5 for in the Ashes. And what was it? We were 299 overnight. We were on 300, and Joshy Hazelwood, he got caught off that no ball.
Yep.
So that 17 runs got added up. At the time, I thought, that could be a handy 17 runs.
It's handy at the moment.
Well, yeah, that is true. I wouldn't mind 17 more mil of rain. I think that might be the handiest 17 mil or 17 that we get. That brings England out, and we started beautifully.
Yeah.
Duckett, who's caused us some headaches throughout the Ashes, schnicks up and succumbs to Mitchell Stark, and then two big partnerships for the Poms. Crawley with Moeen Ali, they put on about 120 odd. Yep. Pat Cummins actually dropped Moeen Ali on 53. Luckily, they get him one run later. Good catch, catch. Real good catch at mid wicket. And then Zach Crawley, we've got to talk about the bloke. We've got to give kudos to the bloke. He averages 31 in Test cricket. I actually didn't think he was capable of this from what I've seen. I'd seen.
Yeah, where did this come from?
Well, some massive scores against Pakistan. I think he's 269 or something. His highest Test score at home against Pakistan. And in my head, I thought, well, that's against Pakistan. This is a world-class bowling attack. I don't think he's capable of that. And again, sort of woke up after day 2 had played out and thought, Jesus Christ, like a run a ball, 189, one of the better innings that you'll see, and Bazball personified really with that one.
Yeah, no, 100%.
He did have a bit of luck.
Yes,
he got struck on the pads. Cam Green on 20. He reviewed straight away. It was going down leg.
A lot of inside nicks as well.
French cuts that were missing by an absolute bee's dick. They were missing by the height of Ben Duckett, which is correct. A little short joke. Sorry there, Ben. And definitely had a plan. They knew that there was no recognised spinner. You could see him getting after Travis Head. You could see he was comfortable playing the reverse sweep and a few of those Bazball shots. And him and Joe Root put on 206 and set up the domination of the Test match. Yeah,
and I feel like some of the strategies from the Aussies, and they'll probably play into some of what happened then on day 3 for them to push that score out to 600. Almost 600 is. If I asked you how many balls did you think Joe Root faced before he had no slippers behind him, how many would you say?
I know it's going to be low. I'll guess 40.
7.
Yeah.
That slips in for Joe for 7 balls, and then everyone was on the boundary. So,
and we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's punter was pretty polite in the way that he was.
Mark Taylor's getting stuck
praising
in
Taylor less so. Darren Berry,
the Pommies loving it. So.
Yeah. Also interesting, Darren Berry. Anyway, us three, he's got a lot more credentials than us three. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But I think us three can see it as well. It was like, this is not working. It hasn't worked since the one session it worked in the second test. The short stuff and, essentially fishing for mistakes for them to hit it down your throat just doesn't work. And you're bleeding runs left, right, and centre. They almost had like a runner ball 600 score.
Yeah. It was the highest run rate for a score over 150 ever.
Yeah.
Well, that could be in England. Regardless, they scored 600. Mm-hmm. And for those that maybe aren't up to speed with what we're talking about, maybe casual cricket fans or Indian or cricket fans that haven't seen it all, essentially what gets you wickets in Test cricket traditionally, top of off, chipping away, normal field positions, some slips. Mm-hmm. That just all went out the window, and it sort of has been the tactic throughout these Ashes. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in the first game.
It's gotten more and more worse.
That's the way I feel like
of everyone goes on the boundary as soon as a guy's in, 7 balls it
seven
seems,
balls
for Joe Root. We bowl a lot of short stuff. We don't attack the stumps. We don't take new balls. That was a head scratcher for mine. Like, the new ball's due. Yeah, you got 2 established batsmen at the crease. Yeah, okay, the new ball maybe comes off a bit better, but you know,
they also got wickets.
It fucking swings.
Yeah, they
like take it.
And to that point, you know, you're Josh Hazlewood, who's not a swing bowler. Like, he's swinging the ball, and then you got someone like Mitch Marsh who can swing a ball. Has been probably the best swinger in this series so far, and yeah, he doesn't really get a Guernsey because of course they'll go the savage bowlers, but I just think some out the box thinking, like, you know, give Mitch Marsh an over, see if he swings the ball a foot. Like, I just feels like they're lost.
Yeah,
it feels like Cummins, you know, that drop catch, he missed another catch, and he missed a stumping opportunity. His field placement, that was probably the worst day I've seen an Australian in the field since I've been watching cricket. Like, it seemed so bad. So, you know, whether there's something else going on that we don't know about, you got to give the caveat. But from what we're watching on TV, he's just like, he looks lost. They look like they've got 4 different captains. They're all throwing out different ideas and it's going back and forth. You know, conversation about the coach as well. And, you know, how they're fitting in with that, how player first this team is. My worry was, and I think Rain's going to save us. My worry was we lose.
Everyone, quick, 3 spins. It's 8:23, bro.
Yeah, because I could see England winning this test. Goes to 2-2. They go into the third and they win that test.
Momentum.
And exactly.
They've
and
got all the momentum.
It's 2-3, and you look at that series and you go, what happened? You go, well, we bowled short way too much, and our field placement was terrible, and that probably falls on the captain. And outside of, say, you know, India series and the Ashes, they're against the 2 best teams. Outside of all of that, do you give caveat that, hey, you won all those matches? Or do you say that you're so much better that you should win all those matches, and when you played the tough games, you know, you kind of fell apart a fair bit, you know, reverse sweep in India and then the short stuff here in England. Does some conversation happen about the captain? But then if it's not the captain's fault, what about the coach? How player first is this team? Because, you know, how they have what we see on TV is like they've got rid of the dictator. They're all player first. It's probably with the players for this kind of strategy.
Poor JL dictator.
Yeah.
That was the sentiment.
But you could also see, like, would they be continuing the strategy if JL was coach? Maybe
no
not.
Way.
He probably would have reined them in and go, boys, we're not doing this. Let's put on the pressure. We've got the best seam bowling attack in the planet. Let's bowl some seam balls and try to get some nicks here and bring the slips into play. Let's put some pressure on. Yeah, they might try to hit us over, but we'll dry up the singles and make them try to hit, you know, miss-hit more like that. Go that way. Pressure, less runs. They want to score, so let's take the scoring away from them, and maybe that causes the mistakes you're after. Like, for me, taking away the LBW, the potential bowls, considering Crawley was LBW and Joe Root was LBW. So after they put 200 on, it's like, oh, maybe we should bowl at the stumps.
They're bowled,
both bowled, sorry. You know, that kind of maybe goes back to the, hey, you got to bring in these other options for dismissal versus, you know, just trying to sky one and get them to sky one and, you know, catch it. Like,
agreed. And it's the first time really that we've seen Pat Cummins' captaincy really come under the spotlight.
Yeah.
Because
he didn't take the new ball, which was also he bowling as taking the new ball bowling. That's the first for him. So I really wonder if there was, you know, something up with Cummins. You know, it's a long series already. He's played in every game. Maybe he's got a bit of back soreness or something like that. He's a bit worn out. Maybe that's, you know, waning on him and with these decisions. Like, we're speculating, but you wonder because
he's essentially in the 5th test right now with the World Test Championship.
Exactly. So,
you know, prior
and
injuries.
He's the only one that's played all of them. So
correct of the fast bowlers.
Yeah. So, and you know, not going to rest the captain in an Ashes series. So a lot of interesting questions. But like I said, Rain probably saves them in this one. Fingers crossed, knock the wood, the whole lot of it. Yes, and they'll retain, and it'll be all Gucci. But I think they're going to have to really think about their strategy going forward. And in the 5th test, like, yes, it might be a dead rubber, but you want to. It's better to come away 3-1 than going, you know, 2-2 and you retain. It just feels dirty to me, considering you're up 2-0 to begin with.
Yep. It also puts the winning in England challenge. It's going to come down to the Oval.
Yep.
Again, we don't have egg on our heads, and it does keep raining. But we haven't won in England. We've retained, but we haven't won in England since the mid noughties, the early noughties. So
98 was it?
No, 2002.
What's the last one?
Months. We need to know this. we should really have the number ready to go.
Yeah. Just go Ashes result or something.
No, I think I can work it out. I think it was 2005 was when we lost.
Big one.
So I want to say 2001 was the last time that we won in England.
That sounds about right.
We've got to give some kudos to their middle order. Stokes and Brook, definitely honourable mentions, but Johnny Bairstow.
Yep.
Have you seen a more dominant, batting at 7 knock in recent memory? Gets stranded.
Gets out.
Kind of funny, really.
Yeah, yes.
Kind of funny. Gets
stranded at 99.
On 99.
Jimmy
The bloke
couldn't
hit
help
10 fours and 4 sixes. Yes, again, same sort of strategy. Everyone on the rope, and let's bowl short to him. He's had an up and down series, hasn't he? Lots been spoken about his glove work. Obviously, the second test and walking out of his crease, and the stumping from Alex Carey was all the world of cricket was talking about for a week after that. But the bloke can bat, and he showed it there, batting with a tail that made 0, 6, 7 and 5 was what he had to work with.
Yeah, and almost tons up. Like again, did what he needed to do. Scored big runs. Had a fair bit to say to the media about essentially like with his injury, with his knee injury. It sounded like he needed pins and things like that. Like
you didn't want to ask me about that. It was the sentiment that I got.
Yeah, it was just like what the doctors are saying is like you're playing professional cricket. That's crazy. Let alone walking, it would be a challenge for you after that injury with the amount of time you've had for recovery. So, he's tooting his own horn there a little bit, but there's a bit of that to it as well. Like, he's coming back from a big injury. That's probably affected his form. He hasn't really played much, but he's coming in the Ashes and he's batted not too bad. So he's had a couple of big scores. That
press conference, that really gave me a feeling of, you know what our media does to our players?
Yeah.
That on steroids?
Yeah.
That's what these guys have got to deal with.
Yeah.
The most blow smoke up your ass when you're playing well. We love you. Oh, Johnny Bairstow, you're the best cricketer. You're the best number 7. I didn't say anything about your keeping, mate. I love you. To, Johnny Bairstow needs to be dropped. Chris Folkes is a better cricketer. Josh Butler should be in a team. He's not recovered properly. I got this stupid Cockney accent. I sound like Russell Brand. It was one of the first moments where I actually sat there and I thought, because Aussie, Johnny Bairstow, fiery redhead, not the biggest fan of him.
No.
Watching that press conference, I thought, oh, mate, you have to deal with some shit, don't you?
Yeah.
Some shit that you probably don't really deserve a lot of the time. And you could just see it was so much of an up yours. You want to praise me when I'm doing well, and you want me out of the team. Yeah, flat stick. It was interesting, a little insight into the mindset of a professional athlete.
Yeah, definitely.
01, yes.
Yes, 01 was the last time Australia won in England.
See, I want both. I want it all, baby. I don't want to retain. I want to retain and win.
And if you look at that team, you can understand why they originally won.
Oh, yeah, you can see how much yellow there is on Monkey's Wikipedia there of Australia and England in the 90s and early noughties.
Yep. That's it.
So they finished up with what, 592?
592, that's right.
260 odd lead.
Batting, 107 overs for 592. That's 5.5 and over. Outside of Duckett missing out, everyone in the top 7 made 50 plus, bolstered by Zach Crawley at the top of the innings, making 189. The bloke that averaged 31, and that I didn't know if he had 50 in him in this series. So,
shows what we know.
Goes out and shows what he can do.
So second innings for the Australians.
Just quickly, Josh Hazlewood.
Yes.
Yes, the rose between a few thorns in this one. 5 for 126. He went at a measly 4.6 and over. He actually really stepped up, and it's interesting, isn't it? The guy, like you said, that targets the stumps the most and just try and bowls line and length. The modern day Glenn McGrath does the best against these baseball tactics. Funny that.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been worthwhile having Labuschagne bowl a few more overs, or even get Smith in there? Or
No, I think the way that they were dispatching Travis Head, I don't think Marnus's or Smudge's part-time spinners on a early day 2 road would have
She gets wickets though.
boded that well.
Yeah,
No.
maybe not day 2, maybe
Tactically,
day 3. But
look,
yeah.
if the plan was our boys are fucked and we need a few overs out of you, Smudge and Marn, to give Starkey and Hazelwood and Cummins a break because they bowled 25, 27, 23 overs.
Isn't that what Cam Green and Mitch Marsh are there for?
Well, they bowled 15 and 9.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, I don't think as a tactical, we're going to inject Smudge and Marn.
Yeah, he's not going to bowl 20 overs.
to get wickets. I don't think we missed out tactically there. As these blokes could probably do with 5 less overs in their body kind of approach. Sure.
Yeah.
But another
the pitch wasn't turning that much either.
Well, and another interesting thing is if they looked at this and saw there's 2 days of rain here.
Yeah.
This is conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat. The worst that we get for a slow over rate is we lose our match fees, or we lose 50% of our match fees. Let's try and fucking make this as slow as we possibly can.
Well, they have. They bowled 23 overs in a session. Like, that's ridiculous. They're probably missing their match fees.
But if you're going to say, well, that saves us a test. If we
don't lose the Ashes,
if we can burn 21 overs here from just being slow, and we don't get paid for this test match, and that's the difference.
Yeah, winning the Ashes means more.
Yeah.
I do agree.
I know what I'll be doing there, bro.
I also think, in hindsight, I reckon England batted too long. I think at lunchtime, 500.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, now with the way the weather's gone, maybe that extra session might have been the difference to get a fair bit of wickets.
Well, Johnny might have been England's arch enemy again. Oh, Johnny, why'd you bat so long? You're greedy, mate. You're greedy. You could have had 60 and taken a few more catches.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, 100%.
Yeah, 592. They didn't need that many.
Yeah,
Keeping in mind the weather forecast and probably Australia batted unders as well. Like, he didn't have to reach for nearly
I think
600.
it probably got to a point where Johnny was batting so well and scoring so quick. They're like, we need to get him.
Yeah, he's now going to get a ton, so we'll let him go.
Yeah, and they maybe burnt 5 or 10 critical overs there.
Yeah.
Do you ever reckon there would have been an option to just send Australia back in as well? Well, I suppose it depends on... No, don't worry about that.
Yeah, I think they could have declared at lunch instead of come back out and keep going. I think that was probably the perfect time because they'd just hit 500 and I thought that was probably enough in the way this test match was going.
I think 500 would have been plenty.
Yeah. So, I don't think they needed to keep going.
So it all depends on the...
today.
How much day of tomorrow, how much North Atlantic freezing over we have featuring a movie that I'm nearly certain doesn't feature Jake Gyllenhaal. That's Jarhead.
Yeah, no, you're thinking of...
Brokeback Mountain.
Is it Day After Tomorrow, the one where the world freezes over? That's Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
Is it Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid.
They're both in it. Well, that's his dad.
Well, fuck me sideways.
I just clocked with what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, I had Dennis Quaid in my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, he was the old man trying to save his son.
There we go. Jake Gyllenhaal. Dun, 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 dun.
So
good movie.
We're hoping for the draw in this one as Australians, unless the Bash brothers, the two big fellas, can put on 300 today in one session, and then we try bowling them all out. Yeah, it's not happening. So let's play for draw.
I actually think the Day After Tomorrow chat is more likely, featuring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
All right, that's plenty of cricket chat. Let's talk some rugby league. The top 8 race, it's heated up with a few upsets. Makes it a little bit more interesting, but everyone's most important game, the game,
not the Matildas,
not the Matildas,
not the Ashes,
not even the British Open. You might say Drake meme, etc., etc. Boys, the Dragons have beaten the Tigers in the Spoon Bowl in a pretty lackluster game of rugby league football. Let's be honest. A bloke that wasn't lackluster was Zach Lomax. Very good in this one. A lot of chat around his future. Will he be at the club next year?
Will he be playing fullback next year?
Where will he be playing? Former hat in the ring for playing Origin. Obviously, that's not looking likely after Bradman Best's performance and the plethora of New South Wales centres getting around. But really, really good in this one. He had a meat pie. He kicked well. He had 197 run meters, and that try assist to win the game is up there with one of the best that you'll see in rugby league football, breaking probably 2 or 3 tackles and then just knowing where Michaeli Ravalawa was on his outside flick pass. Most of the time I see Zach Lomax flick pass, I say, fucking Zach, what the fuck was that? Sorry for any kids that are listening, but that, just calling it like I said. Yeah. But that one was beautiful, and maybe we don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but maybe has saved the Dragons from getting their first spoon since 1938.
I guarantee your daughter's first words will be "fucking Dragons."
Well, she's already said mama and dada, so go nuts now.
Yeah, I'm all good from here. It's all safe.
Yeah, that's it.
The only team that's, maybe more laughable, perhaps. Canterbury says hi. The Tigers, the rift.
They're always in the media.
The rift continues. Benji on the outer. What are your thoughts around this one?
Well, the rumours all week was Benji and Fulton, who's the recruitment manager, weren't seeing eye to eye on who's halfback next year. Some talk about getting Aiden Caesar, I think, back from Super League, and then all going with a young fella, so, not really agreeing on that. Tim Sheen's kind of being on the outer, not involved in any of these conversations. So, and then it looks like the chairman and the CEO, because I think they have the chairman on 360.
Yeah, great name. I nearly said Malaganas, but that's a law firm down here in Canberra.
Talking a bit of shit and stuff like that, but the fact that we know about all this stuff happening, like it's Leak City over there, and to have the spoon bowl as you will be between the two merger clubs is kind of just showing that maybe that decision, the way the boards and the chairmans and that it's all set up, has just been a shit show. So
doesn't work.
I tend to agree with you. Unless you got Wayne Bennett coaching the squad, you're not going to go anywhere. So
that's funny, isn't it? It worked early on.
Yep.
Tigers 05, Dragons 2010, but the old heads and the lack of seeing eye to eye, it would seem, obviously we don't know anyone within either club on the inside, but
I think the boards and the chairmen have too much say now, because I think in both cases, for the Tigers, it was very new. Tim Sheens came in, put his stamp on it, they win the comp. Same with the Dragons. The Wayne Bain comes in and goes, "Wayne, I'm going to do it my way, otherwise I'm going to fuck off." So they're like, "Cool, Wayne, do what you want, win the comp." As soon as they start diddling down their fingers into it, you got what you have now, where they're playing in the spoon bowl.
I really feel sorry. I've said it throughout the
year.
You
are a Dragons fan. You feel sorry for yourself.
No, I was going to say for the Tigers. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for them. It's kind of hard viewing sometimes. And actually, at the start of the year, you went back and look at our tape. I thought, well, they bring in Papali, they bring in Coruscant, they bring in Bateman. They can only go better than this. And they're looking at back-to-back spoons. That they're going to get back-to-back spoons. You'd think.
Barring a collapse from Dragons of Bulldogs and
Canterbury.
They steal a few, but
it's 4 points the difference now, and
they'd have to win out essentially.
Yeah, it's.
What have we got? 5 rounds left.
Yeah, 6, I think. It's not good for Tigers fans, for the club in general. They just need to start thinking about 2024. Plain and simple. And they had plenty of opportunity to win this game. It wasn't a high quality game of rugby league, but. Look, I'm again like the rain, and Australia may be getting away with one tonight. It's we're not quite home Dragons fans, but this win did a lot for avoiding the spoon this year.
6 rounds left to go.
6 to go.
There you go. Thank you.
Friday night we saw a couple good games of rugby league footy. The Warriors, they just keep winning 21-20, closer than what they would have liked. Sean Johnson, boys. Golden Point field goal. He had a kid during the week. I reckon
Congrats.
he might have a Dally M in a few months' time. What's our thoughts around that?
Could very well do, and they've got I think a pretty good run home as well. So they could finish right up there on the table. So
Could finish top 2.
Yeah, I think I didn't think the Raiders would win going into Mount Smart. The Warriors have been playing on excellent there.
Yeah.
When they went up 26, I thought at that point the Raiders were done, but they scored 2 tries right at the end. Probably should have actually won the game. Croker missed the conversion to give them a 2-point lead. But yeah, went to go on point, and Sean Johnson does what he's been doing all season and got them all over the line. They look. I think they've got one of the cheapest spines in the league as well.
Yeah, so that's those stats coming out. I reckon it's them and Cronulla.
Yeah,
for mine were, but I think SJ is on 600 odd.
Metcalf's on nothing.
Shans is on unders 300 odd maybe. Egan's not much in terms of output.
Oh yeah,
maybe have the best valued spine.
Yeah, Metcalf's got wheels, and he just does what he needs to do, playing second fiddle to Johnson, and they seem to play really well. And
we were praising Tamari Martin how good he'd been earlier in the year, and Metcalf comes out and looks like a seasoned vet. It's good for New Zealand as well. It's good for rugby league in New Zealand. You see these massive crowds turning out week in, week out, and a lot of the chat around an 18th team now. New Zealand's definitely putting their hand up for the 18th team. That is for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. This is their run home, boys. The Warriors. They have the bye this week. Then at Titans, at Tigers, but it's a New Zealand at Tigers. Manly, Dragons, Dolphins. They don't play a team that's currently in the top 8.
They should win all those games.
They're finishing in the top 8, 100%.
Yep.
They're most likely finishing in the top 4, and they could finish in the top 2.
Yeah, that's it. They, I think, are 5-2 at Mount Smart this season. So yeah, forming a bit of a fortress there.
Do you think Monkey's uncle should get Coach of the Year?
Andrew Webster, for those playing at home, not actual, quite a common surname, Webster. Yes. Who else?
Yeah.
You could go with a Cleary and Penrith dominating, but
I think if the Dolphins had gone on with their form, maybe Wayne. But I think for where the Warriors are and what they're playing, and potentially if they win out like they're saying, top 4 probably locked in, and then whether they finish second kind of thing. Yeah, I think you've got to be a shoo-in.
I think it's pretty.
It's really given them a
Kevin Waltons and the Broncos have done good from where they finished last year. That very disappointing drop out of the top 8, but for mine it's Andrew Webster.
Yeah.
Speaking of, good little segue, they had a pretty good win there on Friday night. The Broncos 36 to South 20.
How good is Reece?
Yeah, he's very good. Good back flipper, that's for sure. South take this game to Queensland. I want to know your thoughts, boys. We just spoke about how the Warriors will host the Tigers and teams giving up these home games to essentially get more people through the gates and whatever the reason is behind it. South currently sit outside the top 8, I believe.
They've really been struggling without Latrell.
Is this something that teams should be doing on the reg to take the money, or if this game is in Sydney, does that give South the opportunity to try and win at home? It's an interesting tactic. It's something that we've seen a lot in the NRL over the last few years. Just wondering on your thoughts on it.
Interesting, like the fact that they've gone to the Sunshine Coast and not kept it regionally for South. Led to it being in Broncos' home territory.
That's right. Because you say, why isn't it Mudgee or Central Coast or Bathurst? A lot of teams doing that.
That's it. But again, like Broncos are playing great footy at the moment as well. Like
without
they could have played anywhere, and Broncos probably could have won. So
that is true.
It's hard to tell, but there has to be something to it.
I think it's a dangerous game when you're putting it in an opposition's backyard, and like you said, that this game could have been in Sydney, and the way that Reece Walsh and co have been playing, wouldn't have mattered. But I think it's an unnecessary advantage that you are giving to the opposition.
Yeah, you've only got so many variables that you can control. Why gives the opposition an advantage, even if it's perceived advantage.
Yeah, I think it had the
Yeah.
New South Wales probably makes more sense. They probably couldn't play at home as well because of the World Cup too.
That
Yeah,
could have
true.
been a factor.
Yeah. So like but New South Wales makes more sense to me. Like, why are you going to Queensland when you're playing a Queensland team?
Yeah.
But anyway, the other news out of this one, Alex Johnson's got a try now. Taken third
Outright.
from Menzies, 9 away from Billy with 6 rounds to go, as we mentioned.
So we said a few pods ago that you thought he would definitely get it in.
This year, yes, because they're going to play. Oh, at the moment, they're not playing
Will
footy.
they play finals football? That's the question.
I said he'd shit it in, so it was. You never know. He's still got to play the Dragons, so
4 tries there.
yeah. I think his try numbers being down a little bit is probably a reflection on the service they're getting because they've got no Latrell. Like they've been through their origin period, and they've got all their ins back, but without Latrell, they've just I think struggled a little bit for cohesion and points.
He's 14 of 17 played for the season.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Trell? That's 10 weeks for what should have been a
What's calf?
minor to moderate calf. Like normally 10 weeks is like a full-blown calf off the bone, maybe syndesmosis kind of
but it could,
recovery.
It could be the thing where it's, it was minor strain, trying to get back for the origin, did it again, strained it again, and then it's just been reoccurring. And same thing, like he was in for this game, he was named, and then I think he pulled up in the captain's run. So
Origin is a really good point. I reckon he was smashing his body trying to get ready for Origin, and it's just delayed things a lot.
The risk for Souths is whether they shut Latrell down. Like they go, he's probably going to need another month to get right. Do we really want to risk him finals time, or do we shut him down for the year? May depend on where they are. If they're in the 8, probably not. If they keep this slide of the direction they're going, then maybe it's come back in 2024 when you got Jack White and playing for you as well.
Scary prospect. Katoni Stagg's really good in this one. 2 tries, try assists, 171 run meters, 9 tackle busts. The Broncos, the Panthers with a win today.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about big old Marty?
Oh yeah, the high knees.
Knees up.
High knees. Used to be a warm up. Well, didn't used to be. It still is for
This hit Campbell Graham too, I think, as well.
Yeah, poor bloke can't catch a break. If we get some news, if you wouldn't mind, on Marty Tapau, this looked horrible. Watching it live, 4 weeks offered. I believe 4 weeks will be taken unless there's an early guilty plea.
Yeah, early guilty, which I think he'll take, and he'll get 3. I think was the news report. Jimmy will confirm, but it was a bad one. Swale from the Roosters says hello and enjoyed his running style, but it was so bad. His knees up around his chin essentially.
He jumped essentially.
Yeah. It's a fine knee. He's bloody tried to Musfordale Campbell Graham with this one. So
Ben Askren, yeah.
There you go. 3-match ban. So I think he with the guilty plea gets three matches. So that's what he'll miss. And he's a bench player for the Broncos, but he's definitely in their rotation. I think they're hoping for Flegler to come back in a distant future, which will fit in there. But it's just terrible.
Ooh, yeah. It's like he kind of went for like a goose kind of step.
Yeah, or like a lunge as well. And
he just got it very wrong, didn't he?
Yeah, it's bad.
There's no intent there. There's no intent. It's careless, I think. But I don't think it's his intention to get his knee into Campbell Graham's face there.
Yeah. And if I had to make a bold prediction at this point in the season, I think for mine it's Penrith and Broncos as the clear out favourites, with Warriors being my dark horse.
Yep, I like it.
Because everyone else just doesn't seem to be up to their ilk at the moment.
Campbell, thankfully, was okay. He popped straight back up. But, we got to try and get that out of rugby league.
Yeah, well, considering how many broken jaws we've had this year.
Thought it was.
I think if you got the tape measure out and measured how high it was, I think it's really high. I think it's lucky that Campbell's
didn't come in and the tackle.
Where the contact gets made is not in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reverse angle kind of shows how the steal, you look at that and you go, oh, yeah, that's really bad. So deserve a sin bin. So,
yeah. No, that's fair.
He'll miss 3. Don't think it'll impact the Bronx too much, obviously. A tough player on Marty Tapau. We'll see how they go without him. I don't think it'll be too bad. All right, boys, let's roll into Saturday. A couple of upsets-ish. Well, definitely one big upset, but one big result for the table. The Chooks had essentially their season on the line for this game up there at Seabus Super Stadium, and they blew the Titans off the park in the first half. It was 30-0, wasn't it?
Yep.
One-way traffic. The Titans made it look a fair bit more respectable in the second half. Big talking point during the week was Teddy's holiday to Byron Bay. Given the week off, had the blessing from Robbo.
It's so rugby league. Because what did I say? I think Benny Eichen was talking about it and said the big news stories this week was Teddy going on holidays and Reece Walsh with his Gucci bag. He's just like, yeah. That's rugby league for you. So
that's rugby league media for you.
Yeah, I know.
Does anyone want to talk about Scott Drinkwater and his try assists, or tactically, what the Penrith Panthers are doing to separate themselves from the rest of the field? No, we want to talk about people going to Byron Bay when their bodies are fucked up and they need it one week
rest
off.
off.
Saw the tabloids.
Yeah. Well, did him some good, didn't it?
Good. Yep.
Two try assists, 230 run meters. Teddy looked good. The Chooks can still make the 8. I don't think they will, but they can after that performance.
Yep.
This was an interesting one. The Knights and the Storm, nearly a sellout up there in Newcastle. The Novocastrians, they always show up. The Storm led 12-4, and Tarek Sims' sin bin really changed the momentum in this one. Kalen Ponga looking pretty good, other than his goal kicking. But obviously the experiment to move him to 6 looked pretty ordinary, and he goes back to 1 and gets a bit of health under his belt and looks like KP again.
Yeah, I think they're getting him out of the defensive line, the firing line essentially, has been really good for him.
Yep.
Especially with the head knocks. And
no more concussions.
Yeah. Instead of having to make 30 tackles a game, making 10 is probably better for him than being in the front line. So I think he'll be good.
There was an 11-game losing streak that the Knights had against the Storm. Tyson Frizzell, Bradman Best getting a bit of that origin form going into this one. The big news for the Storm was Remus Smith did a pretty serious groin in this one. Someone will have to come and replace him, but backs that are set to come back in, Ryan Pappenhausen's pretty close.
Yeah. He's been pretty close for a couple of months, though. By reports.
By
his reports.
His own reports and off his own social media. Yeah. Back, full contact training, reckons he's a couple of weeks away. He'll definitely be good for finals.
Yeah, which is a scary thought for the Storm.
It throws a spanner in the works because Nick Meaney's been really good with the one on his back. So I imagine Meaney goes to a wing and then pushes either a winger or...
Did he play edge? Like an edge roller for them at one point?
Nick Meaney. No, he's been a winger.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how the Storm had structured it from other ones, because he definitely played when Pap was going back and forth. I'm trying to remember with Nico Hines. Maybe it was after Nico Hines. No, that's probably what I'm confusing with. Don't worry, ignore me.
Often do, Sean. I'm
trying to remember everyone's team from the last couple of years. It was a challenge.
I tell you what, this podcast in general, when we're covering a lot of sports, and you're like, that was a really good serve that ended up in a hole-in-one. That was a great slam dunk from that
bloke
from that third slip.
Some dude 3 decades ago.
Indeed. All right, we'll give you a pass on that one. Let's go into the Cowboys and the Eels. The Cowboys are in the 8 for the first time this year, I believe.
They've been so good post-Origin. It's exactly what they needed. Get their boys, get out of first gear, essentially.
Dude, half their team, not half, but like 5 Origin players, and they've just gotten better and better throughout the Origin series. Scotty Drink, we're talking about Dally M's before. This bloke, if he was eligible, definitely have his hand up. 168 run meters, 10 tackle busts. Meat pie, he was really good. The only downer was Jeremiah Nane, shoulder injury, likely AC, probably going to miss a little bit. The Cowboys just keep stringing wins together.
Eels on the other side. I think actually I saw some reports. We talked about Josh Hodgson needing neck surgery last week. Some rumours floating around. I haven't seen anything official, but he might actually retire, which understandable with his run of injuries and the amount of rehab he's done. Like, he probably doesn't need to play much more footy. So that's a bit unfortunate. He doesn't get to go out the way he'd like. But following on from that, Sean Lane, massive dislocation, and I use the word massive because it looked very bad.
Yeah.
It's not a great one.
Elbows generally look worse than they are.
Yeah, well, they just look gross.
Touch wood, so hopefully not too long. But the poor bloke is broken his jaw and had a high grade hamstring tear this year. So hopefully it's not bad news for him going forward. It did look gross.
Yeah, definitely.
Roz into Sunday's games was it 48-16, 46-18, something along those lines. 44-18 in the Panthers and the Bulldogs. The Panthers were $1.02 going into this one with Nathan Cleary back for the first time in 6-7 weeks. They look pretty good. Tell you what looked better. Brian To'o and Liam Martin doing a bit of Blades of Glory. Try July's been going on. I actually thought when the Raiders did that Johnny Bairstow celebration that nothing could top it. I thought just give them the $10,000 right now. Hans Moleman getting hit by a football, etc. This was pretty good. Blades of Glory kind of gear.
It was a very, very good.
This one looked like it was going to be bad early on. I think I was texting you boys going, oh, geez, NRL Records in trouble here. It was 24-0 after 20 minutes. But the Dogs essentially matched them for the second half after that.
Who was Peachy in for? He was a late inclusion.
Yeah, late inclusion.
Got a double.
He did have 20-something on his back if you go up.
He's playing in the centres.
Where was it? Yep.
It would have been Isaac Tungo. Isaac Tungo missed out. Not sure why. It was late exclusion for Tungo, who's been very, very good this year.
Yeah. Well, Peachy filled in well and we got a double.
Sharks Eagles.
Isaac was injured.
Thank you.
Yep.
Figured.
I just went to the pub, bro. He went with the boys.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder sometimes because there's so many games, so many players. Like, does anyone just ever wake up and have aggressive diarrhea? Like seriously.
Probably.
Like it must happen here and there. Illness, they put it down. That's
Lamar Jackson, right?
Yep. Yeah. Anyways, that's what I think about sometimes. The Sharks had a mad comeback against the Seagulls. Didn't quite
get there.
Quite get enough.
It looks like at halftime they realised that Manly aren't a top 8 side and should beat them.
Yeah, we should beat them. And they went very close. But
what are we doing here?
Manly get the
tail
Dickies.
2 halves. Yeah,
30-26. I didn't see any of this. It was this afternoon. We were sort of getting ready for the podcast, etc.
I just checked one turbo for Manly with Jack T playing.
J Turbo. 30-26. It was 30-4, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, 24-0 half time. So good comeback from the Sharks. Beating good teams obviously is what's been their problem. Manly not a top 8 team, but I think they're not too bad.
Yeah. The pretender chat for the Sharks will continue. They haven't beaten a top 8 side this year. Historically, they haven't been in a top 8 side in 4 years. Their record's 3-20 or something like that. It's crazy. They just can't beat a side that's in the top 8.
Flat track boys.
Makes the run home. That doesn't seem too bad. So they got Penrith next week, which goes without saying. Rabbits, then Titans, Cowboys, Knights, Raiders.
Yeah, a few tough ones there still.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Few in the 8 there.
All right, let's go south of the border. Let's talk some Aussie rules footy. AFL Round 19 had possibly the grand final preview and a couple of thrillers and a Carlton player kicking 10 goals. So it's the first time that's happened in a long time. Marcus, did you catch much of this? The Dogs getting a pretty convincing win against your Bombers on Friday night?
No, I had the second half one in the background. Wasn't happy.
The second half was all the Dogs. The first half, the Bombers were keeping with them.
Yeah.
The Bont is pretty good. 29 disposals, 2 goals. Cody Waitman, Jamara, Ugle Hagen, pretty good. Poor Jake Stringer. The package not great against his old team. Didn't have a goal, 8 disposals. And it was a pretty bad loss because the Bombers dropped from 7th to 11th with a few teams outside of the 8 in GWS and Carlton going above them.
Just goes to show how close that midfield race is.
Dude, it's stacked. We'll talk about the ladder, I think, as we wrap up the segment. But between 6th and 12th is there's not much that separates.
No, yep.
Today, yesterday was Saturday, the Tigers get a 1-point against the Hawks in front of 57,000 at the MCG. The Hawks actually kicked one more goal in this game, but the Tigers win by a point off the back of 12 behinds. It's official. Everyone suspected it, but it's official that the Hawks can't make the 8. Mitch Lewis, Chad Wingard, Jai Newcomb, pretty good in a losing effort. The Tigers keep their season alive. They actually had a mad run in the fourth quarter. They kicked 6 straight. Liam Baker, pretty clutch with
they
the
were 30
left foot snap
behind.
there.
Yeah. So they did run down the Hawks. The Hawks will be disappointed with that last quarter. But
when the Hawks can string together 4 quarters, they're not too bad. Kane Corns come out.
They're a young team.
Corns said that the Hawks are way ahead of where the Tigers would be, or they'll win a premiership before the Tigers do. Given their list versus the Tigers list, the youth of their list, etc., etc. I think he's bordering on the Stephen A. Smith of the AFL.
We'll see whether the Tigers do commit to a full rebuild or whether they can get a couple of pieces and make another run sooner rather than later.
It's for a good cause. This game, they wore the purple strip, the Tigers, for Light the Darkness, for Alana and Madeline Foundation, who died in the Port Arthur massacre. A fair bit of chat as well around ins and outs this week in general, but for the Tigers in particular, Maurice Rioli misses out. Didn't want to take the phone call from his coach. He did take it.
Yeah, the media cut it up to make it look like he didn't take the phone.
He did take it.
He did take the phone.
He was hesitant.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's upset. He's been tactical subbed out early in a game. It's rough.
Well, I think it was passion, and I think that's what McCalter came out to say. I think Jack Rewalt was on 360 saying that it's just a bit of passion and there's not much in it.
You'd want that out of your players. If you get subbed off, you would rather they be pissed off than, sweet, I'm going to hit the showers, bro.
He barely had a kick against West Coast, so I think some of that came into it. Rewalt then went on to say, no, he wasn't omitted for not taking the phone call. I think it played into it. I think the fact that he played like arse last week probably played into it, and why he was upset with himself. So he'll play a lot more Aussie rules footy. You see that bit of passion, media beat up. That's my take there. A bloke has 6 touches, against a team where you should be playing well. You probably would be angry at yourself.
Yeah.
Another interesting one was Dusty did play in this one. He threw a little elbow into Alex Witherden, got him, maybe in the solar plexus and top of the guts, essentially. Is Dustin Martin treated differently to other players in the AFL?
Well, the fact that you said he threw an elbow and hit him in the solar plexus, there's no doubt, he did it. and you think as a minimum, that's a weak, it's an offence. It's the kind of thing you don't want to be seeing or promoting, especially from someone like Dusty, who's essentially the king. I think what we've been saying, Dusty's a bit of a protected species, and do you get 57 in there for a Hawthorn game without Dusty in it? So
Sam Kerr Matilda chat coming soon. Coming soon.
So I think he deserved it. And then you see, I think it was Willie Rioli today or yesterday, punching a bloke, left hook.
Oh, was the hand open?
It was closed fist, bro. It was closed fist.
Bring that up for me.
Bring that up.
Yeah, bring that up. So you see that. You see that and go, he'll be fine. He'll be sweet after what Dusty got, but he's not Dusty, so he'll probably get a month. I think it's just a bad look.
Do you think it's a conscious thing that the match review panel does in that we need this guy to sell tickets? Or do you think there's a little bit of unconscious, oh, it's Dusty, oh, it's Joel Selwood has always been the example that plays into it? Do you think it's a something...
take it a step further and go to Dusty's like mental health as well? Like,
Yeah.
does that play into effect? Like,
I don't
do you
think-
want to... Do you walk on eggshells around him, or
Still,
like
do you-
not that I'm saying you can condone it or not,
Yeah, but
but
you're
the player's personality or player's
true. But on the flip side, you're also enabling the action. 2 weeks later, he's out there and he punches a bloke. It's just like, you could have nipped it in the butt by sitting him down for a week and gone, oh yeah, I did a stupid thing. I didn't get away with it. There's both sides of that coin.
My personal thoughts, whether it's conscious or subconscious, I think the AFL and the match review panel does give a little bit of leeway to the Dustin Martins and the Joel Selwoods and the Patrick Dangerfields and the Buddy Franklins of the world.
Yes.
He did play well in this 24-2 1-point game, maybe made a difference. The other end of that is Jordan Boyd gets 3 games for the Carlton Blues, misses out. Tackle
Holding a guy's arm so he can protect himself, hits his head on the ground.
hits his head, did get subbed out with a concussion in this one. Didn't play today, Darcy Byrne-Jones. Look, when we talk about something like this, all thoughts go to Darcy Byrne-Jones. My feeling was this was a textbook AFL tackle, wrapped up the ball, wrapped up the body, no high contact, no late contact, took him to ground, and unfortunately, Darcy bumps his head on the way down.
Yeah. I feel like they're looking at it, there might have been a little bit of that sling in there as well, like to get him to the ground, which is what they hate. I think that's the big difference. If Dusty punches him in the head, that's different. Oh, hit him in the chest. That's sweet, bro. Chest is good. But any bumps the head, the AFL says, no, you need to sit down, learn your lesson. So, yeah, and they've been pretty hard with that, and you can understand why with lawsuits and media, etc. But
yeah, I think that's what it's litigation based, and you want the game to be safe, and you want kids to be playing it. I'm all about that. And if that's the case, then fine Jordan Boyd or give him a 1-game suspension if that's your reasoning. To me, I don't know what world we're living in where this is a 3-game suspension.
Well, I think they've been pretty consistent with that. Those guys that kind of get a little bit of sling, get hit and they hit the ground.
There's no
getting
sling.
3 weeks.
There is no sling. Watch this. He wraps him up and he goes straight down.
You're right. Yeah.
He just that's just trying to take his body down. It's unfortunate that there's a bit of whiplash and Darcy Jones hits his head on the ground there.
Yeah, I remember I was reading something. It was probably towards the start of the year about wrapping the arm so the player couldn't protect himself.
Yep.
But I can't remember what the AFL was saying, like what was bad in that. But yeah, like that's. You can't brace himself there, and I guess it's on the defender then to protect the player, and you're taking him down and he's hit his head. So I can see why they've done that with the reasoning that we've talked about all season. But it's you get 3 weeks for that, and then Dusty gets nothing. Seems a bit stiff.
It's
kind of see that.
It's cuckoo at the moment.
Yeah. He kind of like twists and pushes, slams him into the ground rather than just completing the tackle. Like there's a bit of a change in direction in the tackle.
This is happening a million miles an hour.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
a
could,
bang sort of thing.
So where
I get what you mean, yeah.
So when he makes contact there, he could have maybe rolled onto his own right shoulder there. I'm talking about Jordan Boyd. I think the danger is if you're doing that at full speed, you fall off. Darcy Byrne-Jones turns around to the right and kicks a goal.
Yeah.
That to me, as someone that's played contact sport since I was a kid, and watching that, I feel like that is an unfortunate result of playing a contact sport.
It is, because his head's behind his body, so he doesn't know if he's still got the ball. He doesn't know he's already kicked it. All he's doing is what he.
And I don't think there's much he could have done better than that. Maybe his left arm, instead of wrapping his arm, goes lower and tries to grab the leg, like the thigh. But then you get into lifting motion, so it's not really a win-win. But I can see from you've wrapped him up, he can't defend himself. You gotta protect him a little bit, and you forcefully put him on the ground. I think there'll be no tackling in AFL in the next 5 years.
It's going that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, watching that, and maybe I've got my navy blue glasses on,
Yeah.
I'd be happy with a fine.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with a fine. I think 3
From what we've
weeks.
seen all year,
I think 3 weeks is egregious.
Yeah, I think any hitting of heads on grounds through tackles has been, high suspensions like that. So, yeah, I don't. AFL won't be completely soccer, but it's going to be aerial soccer, as the Queenslanders like to say.
Ping pong, isn't it?
Yeah, I know that's rugby.
Rugby's ping pong.
Yes,
Rugby union.
Rugby union. They kick it back and forth to each other.
I've heard Aussie rules was aerial ping pong.
Yeah, true.
Anyways, let this not detract from the fact that Carlton win their 5th game in a row by 50 points or more. Only Geelong have done this in 89 and in 2008, and they made the grand final in both years. Blue Flaggers chat, ranters, etc. They do have a massive game against Collingwood on Friday night. That will be the real litmus test to how much these Blues have improved. Or obviously, no Big H. His knee injury will be about 6 weeks, but I think Paddy Cripps and Adam Chera should be back for Friday night. And then the big talking point from this game was Charlie Curnow really solidifying his position at top of the Coleman medal with 61 on the season.
Well, an extra 10 helps.
Yeah, definitely. He's ahead of Tex. I don't know how many Tex kicked today, but I'm fairly sure he's well ahead of Tex.
Yeah, not 10.
He's 16 ahead of Tom Hawkins. Larky might have got a couple, but it's essentially his now, the Coleman medal. The first kick 10 for the Blues since Dix Kernahan did it in 1995. Only a handful of Blues have kicked 11 or more, including Harry Vallance, Ross Ditchburn, Greg Kennedy, Horry Clover had 13 for the Blues. There was a stage in this game when he had 5, was it, in the first quarter? It was 59-2 or something, where you thought, geez, could be really rewriting the record books. And West Coast, to their credit, played pretty well in the second half to curb it to just 10.
Yeah, maybe some foot off pedals as well.
Yeah, I think there might have been a bit of that.
So the Blues did sneak into the 8 for a little bit, but then got knocked back out. So I think that they're hoping that's the direction they'll go. They'll sneak into the 8 this year instead of the other way around, getting knocked out at the end. But yeah, like you said, big game against the Pies. Pies probably heavy favourites with the way they've played so far this season and this week. Being up the top there. So yeah, I think the team to beat, and like you said, good test to see where you're at as a side next week. Now,
don't let this Pies power chat let you forget about these other 2 teams, which could be playing in a grand final in the Brisbane Lions and the Geelong Cats. Good gritty win, I suppose, from the Lions. Scrappy first half. It was 32 points to 11. Did you see much of this?
No, I didn't. Where was it played, though? Was my main question.
The Gabatoir. They've played very well at the Gabatoir in recent memory. McCarthy, Hipwood, Danaher all had 2. I suppose the big talking point was poor Will Ashcroft, not the incumbent, the bloke expected to be the rising star of the AFL. Fourth quarter, there was only about 10 minutes left. Did his right knee, grabbed at it. Looking at this, I didn't feel like it was an ACL. He was walking freely post-match, which is not always the best indication of injury. Had his scan today, confirmed he's done his ACL. That's the last that we'll see of Will Ashcroft this year. He's been playing very, very well, and just thinking of him for his recovery.
Yeah, I saw before going into that game, he was basically at the same point in the season as Nick Dacos last year, matching and in some categories beating some of his statistics. So he's having an unreal season, considering what Nick Dacos is doing now. But yeah, massive. That's a pretty big loss for them, and it's really unfortunate for the young fella to get the ACL there. Where are Geelong on the flip side? Where are they kind of sitting in the middle?
I think they were 6th. Are they 7th now?
They're still floating around there on the ladder.
Where's the ladder?
They're
They are 8th.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. I've got no doubts that Geelong play finals football this year, as a Carlton fan. Tommy Stewart, Jez Cameron, pretty good for them. The Swans keep their September aspirations alive. Dockers are pretty much done. 30-odd point loss there. Will Haywood and Buddy kicked 3 each. Luke Parker pretty good. I didn't watch a second of this. I don't know if you blokes did, but I had my eyes glued on the Power and Pies game with the cricket, being a little bit wet. 1 versus 2, Adelaide Oval, unbelievable atmosphere. This felt like a finals game. It was 5 lead changes in the first quarter. It was Taylor Adams' 200th. He had a blinder, 25 disposals. He got a gift from Jamie Elliott, which was nice to see. And this one went right down to it. I think Port actually had the lead for most of this game, and the Pies just showing what they've been able to do over the last 2 years and win these close encounters. There's something in the way that they play or their mentality or their structures in the fourth quarter, which you just see this happening time and time again, where the Pies win games by less than a goal.
Yep, and that's the story of last season, story of this season. They just find a way to win, which is very challenging come finals time. Like they've been battle tested, as you will. For mine, I think I've been saying it for a couple of weeks. I think a lot of people have been saying it. They look like the team to beat on a week to week basis. So yeah,
they are coming first.
Yeah, they are coming first, and
points.
And they. But running into the finals, they're the team to worry about.
A bloke that's coming first by a long way as well is Nick Dacos for the Brownlow. I think he's about $1.60 now. It's funny when a bloke has 25 and a goal and you're like, oh, that's not his best game. Like, he was pretty good. Shout out to Willem Drew who tagged him for a lot of the game. He had 16 tackles in that one. Zach Butters probably didn't get the best on ground. I think that went to his running mate in Connor Rosé. But it was interesting to see the most likely number 1 and number 2 in the Brownlow votes. Petrarca says hi. Going at it head to head, not as direct opponents, but in the same game.
Yep.
Jamie Elliott, definitely worth a shout. Few minutes to go. Hard kick that. Not many people kick that. He is very clutch. He had 3 in the game. He had the go-ahead goal. And if you watch the celebrations in slow motion, I think I counted about 7 or 8 rude fingers up in the front row from the Port fans.
Your middle fingers.
Indeed. Yeah. Why wouldn't you turn around and say something back? My thoughts.
Do you want to pull up Willie Rioli's punching a man?
Yeah, see, I didn't think there was heaps in it.
Well,
but there's intent. This is the thing as well. So say when we were talking about young Jordan Boyd before and the tackle and it looked a bit textbook. That's intent. Yeah. Do you think that's a
left hook, bro? That's exactly what it looks like.
There was also a lot of chat that there was racial abuse.
Well, he got a lot of that post match as well. So
and again. That's obviously coming from the sideline, you'd imagine, and not from the
on socials. Like his instant DMs are just blowing up. With
abhorrent.
It's not needed.
No.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what he cops for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Watching that, what would you be happy with?
Oh, Dusty got nothing, so.
True.
I think a week at minimum.
I think they're looking at 2. I'd be happy with 2. I think any more might be.
Do they say punch? They have a definition in this? No.
Slap.
Striking
is what it is.
Striking, yeah. It's like his intent. Like close fist, open fist, whatever. It looks like a left hook to me, and it's definitely connected on the chin. So yeah, it's not great viewing. And that's the main thing for the AFL. It doesn't look good.
Reminded us to talk about George Cambosis later. Just thought about that.
Yes.
Giants, pretty comfortable winners against the Suns down here at the Theatre of Dreams, Monica Oval. That's 6 in a row for the Orange team. So they're going
7th. I think I saw Jimmy had them.
Yeah, 7th.
Yeah, 7th.
Well into the 8, and looking like they're going to make a pretty handy run of it. Toby Green, good, but didn't kick particularly straight. I think Riccardi had a couple amongst. If you wouldn't mind bringing up some numbers, it was. I watched the first half. It seemed to be pretty neck and neck, and they ended up running out 40-point winners. They also had lost 9 of their last 10 at Manuka Oval. So getting that monkey off the back, pretty big for GWS. Got some numbers there. 3 for Lukosius, 3 goals, 4 for Toby Green. Yes, Riccardi did have 2, and 31 for Flanders, Sam Flanders, getting a few touches there for the Gold Coast. Demons, Crows. The Demons look like having this one all wrapped up at halftime, and the Crows played valiantly. I think they went down by 4 points. The big talking point all week was the big man, Brodie Grundy, the unicorn. It's all but guaranteed not to be playing for the D's next year. Who
after being omitted last week.
Who looks likely?
Yeah, obviously what they tried it. The D's were trying the 2-ruck strategy or pushing Max forward. By all accounts, Maxi wants to be a ruck. That's what he wants. That's his bread and butter. So
best one in the league for the last 10 years.
Exactly, which really doesn't leave much of a role, I guess, for Grundy there, and they could probably save some money as well.
Which is interesting, the role chat, because Luke Jackson was playing second fiddle perfectly last year. True. Perhaps as a forward or utility, we've seen how good he can be as a utility at Fremantle. Yeah, perhaps a little bit better than Brodie. I think there might be something else going on in terms of desire to be there or desire to be a second string ruckman, given that on paper he's probably still a top 5 or 6 ruckman in the AFL. I think that might play into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and there's rumours that plenty of teams want him. Like West Coast would want everyone. So, there's some chat there. Port Adelaide, Geelong's a big one. Geelong have been chasing Sean Darcy, I think it was. And they'd play that Blitzarve Stanley sort of chop in, chop out role, but both of those guys can play fine as a tall back or as a tall midfielder. So getting a true ruckman for them might be exactly what they need, which is scary that Geelong doesn't need him.
As a footy fan, I hope it's not Geelong. I also hope, given this year, it's not Port Adelaide.
But he has options. So, it looks like he'll be on the move, and it looks like he'll probably get a good deal.
Is he in Adelaide? I think he's from Adelaide. Can you chase up Brodie Grundy, Wikipedia, early life? I think he's from Adelaide. Port kind of makes sense in that regard, in that, Scotty Lycett's not bad, but I'm sure Brodie Grundy would slot in pretty well there.
There's a few places that
Riley
Grundy doesn't help.
Riley O'Brien's still pretty good if he was to become a Crow.
Yeah.
It's from Adelaide?
From Adelaide, yeah.
Be interesting.
Yeah. Well, does he just play VFL for the rest of the season, or do the D's try and move him on before?
I think that'll be week by week.
Yeah.
For mine,
they still want cover.
I feel like he's in their best 22.
Yeah.
Week in, week out. Yeah. I would feel. I don't know what Simon Goodwin thinks, or if there's more to the story, but and the money that they paid the bloke, I suppose at this stage of the year as well, the money doesn't really come into it. You just want to pick your best 22.
Yeah, you want to win. So
yeah.
But he's still good coverage. Heaven forbid anything happens to Max Gawn like he did. Yeah, he's had a few niggles in the recent years, so you still probably want him around in the worst case. But long term, they don't have a spot for him.
Last game of the round was...
Who won that game, by the way?
The D's by 4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, it was really, really tight fourth quarter there by the Crows. 97-93. Another game that was probably closer than people expected, the Saints running out 8-point winners there at Marvel Stadium against the Shinboners. The Roos were up for a lot in this one, weren't you? You were watching a bit of this?
Yeah. I think they were up. Well, it looks like
at three-quarter time throughout the whole game, essentially. So the Saints, they hold on to their top 8 spot. None of us have seen much of this, really.
Who watches Merv Moylan games these days?
3 for Taron Thomas, 3 for Nick Larkey. Monks go disposals.
Where's the Cheezel?
Mind. 33 for Jack Steele.
Cheezel.
He gets 28. And we talk about Will Ashcroft going down. The rising star probably now is Harry is the Cheezel.
Yep.
Are there is another one of those teams where if they could just string 4 quarters together, they could.
Well,
I suppose you could use that argument about a lot of teams, but it often seems to be you watch a Kangaroos game and you're like, oh, play good passages here, you know,
Yeah.
link up a few good hands. Nick Larkey's an elite full forward. Getting that four-quarter consistency is going to be key.
And that's the other big story out of the week. Clarkson confirmed back. He will be back after this match, of course, so he'll be back coaching full-time for the rest of the year for North Melbourne. So whether that's, you know, having their actual head coach back can bring the side together and actually maybe put some of that together, maybe they sneak a few wins towards the end of the season.
Ladder, if you wouldn't mind, Monks. So Collingwood, I believe, are 8 points clear. Can pretty much lock them in for a top two. Finish there, 64 percentage, 136. Got to go down to Port then at 56. Brisbane Lions 52. Melbourne 48. I think that's our top four.
Yep.
And then a logjam. So it's 5 to 14. Any of those teams could finish in the top 8.
Yep.
Western Bulldogs, St Kilda, GWS, 40 points apiece. All have positive percentage. Geelong, 38. A really good percentage there, 121. Carlton and Richmond, the two teams that drew at the start of the year, also draw even on points at the moment. Carlton do have a big percentage advantage there. The Bombers on the slide down. Look at those last four losses in that last five. 98% there. Sydney Swans, 34. Keep their season alive. Adelaide and Gold Coast down there on 32. And then I think it's Lions through Fremantle, who mathematically have a chance, and then confirmed don't have a chance, Hawthorn, North Melbourne, and West Coast.
Yeah, it's quite interesting looking at that because it looks like Blues and GWS on the up, and then you look at someone like the Crows, it looks like they're on the way down. Same with the Bombers. They've kind of roles reversed at the moment for where they were at the start of the season, end of the season. So, it's going to be a tough run in to make, I guess, the last four spots. They're all up for grabs at the moment. But, I think some of those teams already in those spots probably be okay. And then it's maybe, can the Swans put it together with that team? Can they sneak in? Can the Blues do the same? Tigers maybe are just not that confident in Essendon or the Crows or the Suns for that matter out of that list. But where the Bulldogs are compared to where they finished last year, I think that's they've been playing pretty well. Can they keep that together? St Kilda kind of being surprise packet there. Geelong, I think, will, with the reign of form they're in there, they'll keep walking their way through.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just looking at the Bombers' run home. It's interesting. So next week they do have the Swans, which is another one of those teams.
It's a huge game.
Yep, West Coast, which
should win,
is good for them. North Melbourne, which is good for them as well. But then GWS, massive, and finishing the season, regular season with Collingwood as well. So
tough end. There's
two games in there for three teams that will be massive to making. It was make or break for their seasons. Yeah.
Could you bring up Carlton's run home if you wouldn't mind? I know that they have Collingwood this weekend, so I don't want to say that this illustrious run is coming to an end, but it may. Yep. After that, St Kilda, that's huge.
Yep. And then they got the D's.
Hard.
Yep.
And then Gold Coast and GWS. So winnable those last two, that's for sure. I think looking at that, they have to beat St Kilda, Gold Coast and GWS, and then one against Collingwood or Melbourne would definitely help.
Yeah, that's it.
Still raining?
Well, before as we were starting the AFL segment, rain had stopped. They were mopping it. They showed it before as we were talking AFL. They had the covers all off. 2 minutes ago, covers back on.
Let's go. Jake Gyllenhaal's back, baby.
So they've taken lunch. So the first session completely done.
Good. Let's go. 2 more of those to go, boys. It's going to rain Piers Morgan's tears.
Well, literally 10 minutes ago, they said play will begin at 1 p.m. local time. So in 40 minutes. And then, 8 minutes later, covers are all back on. It's raining. So we'll take that.
Oh, let's send the convicts down to a beautiful nation that's got lots of beaches and it's warm and it doesn't rain all the time. I'm Russell Brand. All right, I need to go to the loo.
Take your whiz.
If you wouldn't mind taking the start of the NFL here, boys.
Yes. Do you want me to save RBs? You want to talk about RBs when you get back?
No, you guys started.
Okay. Well, we won't be done by the time we get back. Let's see how quick you are.
I don't know. Just drag it out.
All right, we'll start with Washington.
We'll start with Washington. We can cover that.
Yeah.
So, yes, Washington Commanders have been sold to a investment. Your dainty fingers didn't work, did they? And you're trying to cover it.
Come on. I just wondering why it wasn't working.
Oh! He broke his hand!
So NFL segment.
NFL.
Washington officially sold to the Josh Harris investment group, which includes Magic Johnson. He's probably been the biggest celebrity doing the rounds. So they sell for $6.05 billion. Broncos, who sold last year for $4.65 billion. So, a bit of inflation there, but Washington's pretty close to one of the biggest markets in NFL, has a long history and a long membership base. So, there's reason why they sold for how much they are, considering how shit the franchise has been in the last 2 decades. So, the celebrations.
Opportunities there.
Celebrations have been crazy with Dan Snyder getting sacked, going out the door. He did get fined $60 million by the NFL for his sexual harassment clause.
Yeah, okay.
So they came out the week they sold, but
That's for him.
You do the math for me. Is 60 mil
10%
of 6 bill? Or is it 1%?
1%.
1%. So I think he's okay. I think he made out ahead. 60 mils a slap on the wrist for a 6 bill sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, that works it out. There's too many zeros in a billion, especially
it's somewhere between 1 and 10%.
Yeah, it's in that range. Either way, it's peanuts. He's got plenty of money lying around. So, good riddance essentially to him. Washington fans are going crazy. They finally got some decent ownership. Kind of probably what the Dragons and Tigers need to do here in rugby league, but
they're probably a little less controversial than than Schneider.
Probably also not worth $6 billion. But the big news out of all of that is there's not confirmation, not. What's the word? They're not distancing themselves with it, and they're not denying it. That's what I'm after.
Yeah.
That they might change the team name. So, of course, they've gone from their old team name from the 90s into the Washington Football Club for a couple of years to now the Washington Commanders. Is that last season they became the Washington Commanders? How long have they been the Commanders for?
Yeah, it was last season.
1 year.
Yeah.
With the sale, ownership's gone, that name's pretty shit house. Yeah. We might do a rebranding.
It's always a good chance for rebranding.
Yeah,
new owners will obviously want to make their stamp on the team immediately.
Yeah, and plus considering it's a new branding, it's not really as established as we go back to the Broncos sale.
Yeah,
that name's been
there's no
there.
history to the Commanders.
Yeah, that's been there for. You don't really want to go in there and change that team around because that's kind of what people are bought into. Whereas the Commanders is like, fans don't really love it. No one really loves it. It's probably the worst name they picked out of a lot of names. So there were better options. See what they do with it. But happy for Washington fans. Not sure that it really directly impacts their football this year. But probably hopefully good times ahead for that club with a big investment. Can you tell me, Josh Harris, what's he billionaire for? What has he done? Because I know Denver was Walmart, the Walmart money, richest owners in the NFL.
I've got no idea who this bloke is. Do you know?
No.
Hence the question. Businessman.
I'm assuming investments and all sorts of things. But what is he? He's not a Microsoft man, is he? Or is he Amazon or
managing partner of HBSC?
Banker.
Yeah, big banker.
There
you go.
HBSC.
Massive banker.
No, entertainment.
Entertainment.
Oh. I thought you said HSBC.
Yeah.
I think I did. I did start saying that. I tried to correct myself.
What's Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment?
Sports company.
Sports bet.
What are we looking at?
Interesting. Yeah.
Brands. I think it's just massive sort of marketing kind of. He
owns it. Oh, yeah. He's Sixers owner, isn't he?
He owns the Sixers.
Yeah.
Devils.
He has to have had money beforehand to then. To invest in other sports teams, he's probably had to have money beforehand. But how did he didn't do it through prostitution, I'm assuming. So
us three morons. How does one acquire $6 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Please Google.
Yeah, I don't have enough kidneys for $6 billion, unfortunately.
You probably got about $30,000 worth there.
Yeah, you may be 15, but we'll see.
No, my kidneys are good.
Liver.
Brain, no bueno.
No bueno, yes.
No bueno.
Yes. And then Jimmy, you can do some research there. We'll talk some RBs. So the franchise tag window closed over the weekend as well. Most of the big names that have been tagged that are still unsigned being running backs. The notable ones, of course, Josh Jacobs and Saquon. Couldn't get deals done. It didn't look like Barkley's deal was ever going to be getting done. Josh Jacobs, by reports, was close. Reports were him and Crosby were sitting in his car in the car park in the Vegas facility, waiting for the deal to get done. Because if it came through, they could go in the building and essentially sign the paperwork before the day dot. But the time elapsed, so he'll either have to sit out the year or sign the franchise tag. Those are his options. Same with Barkley. But this story all led through to, RBs aren't officially dead. They're still needed, but the RB
Big
market,
needed.
but the RB market,
That's not getting paid.
is not getting paid. There's reports today that Eckler and some of the big names have set up a big, let's call it, RB university kind of gig. Let's get the RBs together and let's talk about how can we make, the position worthwhile. How can we get the value out of the position and get paid? Because currently the big stat, the big talking point was the average RB earns less than the kickers.
Average kicker.
Average kickers. But caveat, of course, most teams have 4 running backs on
High-end running back obviously makes a lot more.
Yeah, and the low ends get paid fuck all. They come out of college, low round draft picks essentially, and there's only 32 kickers and they're on a roster at any one point in time. But it's a big difference. I think it was 1.8 versus 2.4, 2.6,
700 grand maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of a talking point there, and it's really asked a lot of questions about, I guess, the meat factory that is the NFL. The direction is, if you can draft a running back in the first round, draft him, have him for his rookie year, or draft a running back, get 1,000 yards out of not years.
Good running back.
Yeah,
Methuselah
a different
chat.
Y word. Get 1,000 yards out of him if you can, if he's good. Franchise tag him once, let him go draft his replacement. That's been the talk for. Running backs in the plan for them, which is not, that's not great for talk about guys like Eckler now, Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry. They're coming into their 26 or 28s where they want to get that big deal. The last running back to get a big deal was Nick Chubb in 2021. So it's been a couple of years as well. They can't get the deals. They get churned out and the young fellas come in.
It's a travesty, I think, for professional athletes that have dedicated their lives to this game and essentially the most
punishing position.
Punishing position on your body, and the average expectancy for career in the NFL is 2.5 years for running backs. I suppose the counter argument is it's supply and demand, bro. We can
you can churn them out.
That's right.
Yep.
If you don't want to sign the contract, we can get someone else just like you in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so much talent. You look at last year, Algier was 5th round, Checo was 7th.
Yeah, did really well.
Like both 1,000-yard rushers. Like it's you can go out there and find talent all over the place. And that's what I'm saying. There's volume. There's just if running backs want to be paid more, they need less running backs coming out in college. It's a talent position. And if you run the fastest and you've got some good moves, you play running back. Like that's been the marquee position. Well, maybe that changes now. Maybe those guys go, I want to play safety. I want to play a cornerback instead. Do you start losing some of the small fellas out of the game? Like, hey, we don't see the value in playing that position. But
I suppose you've sort of seen it over the last 10, 15 years. More or less the death of the fullback. It's you're running
fullbacks so high. They're like, bro, we've been gone for ages.
That's it, exactly.
What about our position?
You're averaging 2.1 million.
We don't even make the list.
That's right. There's 6 of us left in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's it. No, with a lot of the rules around protecting the quarterback and sort of stuff, you haven't had to have that extra player in the backfield, sort of providing that pass protection or whatever for blindside or whatever it might be. So they don't have that much value as another blocker or something like that. It's just can you get downfield? Can you catch a ball sort of thing?
Well, exactly. If you look at probably what Adrian Peterson was doing and the running backs in that time, probably coming through the 2000s, LT, etc.
Yeah.
The actual like workhorse size of running backs has been dropping off.
Yeah.
The guy that's 5'8", 200 pounds or 220, like that's fine. If he catches the ball, better, because we're a passing league. We want to pass more. Like Eckler is almost the perfect kind of mold for that.
Yeah.
But then you also don't want to be going, I don't want to give him 300, 400 touches in a season, and then risk injury on like that kind of workload. I'd rather put him in space and throw him 80 catches. Like
that's it.
you can see it, but then you don't want to be paying him premium running back money.
Yeah, when you've got guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, that can get you those 3, 4, 5 yards that you need.
Using Chargers as an example, they got to be paying Justin Herbert and they're not too decent future. Like when he comes off his rookie deal.
And Herbert can get those yards at a running back. You'd probably rely on a running back to get him.
Yeah, so
in those short down situations. So.
I really don't see a simple solution for this unless they can stop the supply of running backs from college into the NFL, which is highly unlikely because it's a covenant position. And I think the other big thing, hasn't been such a separation as well. You can get 1,000-yard runners at the back. Look at Dalvin Cook; he's a 1,500-yard runner, and even though he gets 500 more yards a year than someone else, can't get a gig. Also, reports I think he hit his misses and choked her a bit. Might have been the reason why he might be signing with anyone at the moment. But he's not the only one. There's plenty of guys out there. Still available. Like it looks like Zeke's going to have to take vet minimum and go back to the Cowboys. Like,
which is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
One of the premier running backs in the NFL 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I don't see an easy solution for this going forward.
Saquon said it is what it is. Pretty happy to just copy his licks. For me as a sports fan, and you look at someone with the talent of Saquon Barkley and the poo-slinging franchise that the New York Giants have been for the last 5 years, and for them to have him and not really care, it speaks volumes to this predicament that running backs find themselves in.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it was also interesting that Bell comment there. He came out during the week and said, he apologised to Steelers fans. He's like, I shouldn't have held that. I shouldn't have left. Also, he probably should have signed that deal and made more money because he had a huge deal on the table. But
and it's also interesting. I think Le'Veon Bell and a few of these high-profile holdouts for running backs has also fed this fire a little bit.
Melvin Gordon as well was another
where they got, all right, we won't pay you, fuck off.
You want to hold out, so
and we won't do any differently as a franchise.
Yes, maybe we take a little bit of a step back, but we can, instead of getting a 1,500 yard rusher, I'll get 1,000. Like, I can still find guys that are going to tote the rock and take that punishment. Because I think the league understands it's a passing league. It's why we've now gone away from, it's not 1 and 2 primary. It's like you need 3 receivers, if not 4 these days. Like you can see that's the way the league goes. And you see the talent of where the quarterbacks are compared to what it was, 10, 15 years ago. Like most teams have a young quarterback that they think's their franchise dude. And there's talent all over the place. Like, you look at Allen Mahomes, Burrow, to name just a couple. Like you can see the talents there, and you look at what Anthony Richardson might do for the Colts. Like you can see, that's the way the league wants to go. They want quarterbacks that throw the ball, score touchdowns. That's where the money's at.
Yeah, that they don't want pound the rock, and that's where the money tends to follow. We'll keep an eye on it. We are only a few weeks away. It's one of our. Well, it probably is our favourite American sport. So
we'll talk some fantasy football, I think, in August as we lead into drafts.
Bit of a preview into fantasy, and it's September 8, I believe.
Yeah, because there's going to be pretty interesting. Because we've had the rise of the zero RB, but I think it might be the way forward going forward, because there's just not that much love for RBs, like workhorses in the league. So as the
fantasy will reflect it.
Yeah, could definitely reflect it. Where you might go heavy, rounds 1 and 2 are your top 20 wide receivers going. And then you kind of like, if most teams have 2 backs, which they do now, that's the kind of mode they want. It's beneficial to be taking Chase, Jefferson, etc. Early versus then fighting over Nick Chubb, McAfee, and Henry, because
McCaffrey.
Pat McAfee can go out there, kick a football and then maybe run for a first down if he's lucky. McCaffrey, but you look at McCaffrey's a great example. They really like Mitchell, and when he's healthy, they share the back end of the season. They share the workload. Like there's probably more value in a guy that gets 100 plus targets from a quarterback at this point in the way NFL's going. So it'll be an interesting couple of years because I think fantasy is going to reflect the
Real life.
Yeah, I was going to say dislove, but that's not a word. But you know what I'm getting at.
Disrespect.
Yeah, disrespect of the running back position.
I suppose, the caveat with that is fantasy. You can always like play around with your point system as well. So
true.
You could play around with it
but they don't do that in the NFL.
Relevant, but you don't do that. Yeah, running backs aren't going to get a 7-point touchdown anytime soon.
Yeah, change the whole. Yeah, if running back scores double points, and then everyone be like, "Fuck, we need to pay our running backs." But yeah, if the leagues don't change scoring, then nah. And that's NFL.
Let's talk some soccer/football.
Football, Jimmy. He's Danny Fingers didn't work
this?
on the NFL before.
Anyway. FIFA World Cup Women's Edition comes down under. They're expecting the biggest attendance ever for a Women's World Cup.
Jimmy, can you find other results?
Yeah, they have.
What's been happening?
Well, we've only got 2 notes there, and that's New Zealand getting
The opening night.
the win against Norway. Now, Norway historically have been very good in women's football, so that's a massive win for our Kiwi brethren. And Australia getting the win sloppily, I must say, 1-0 over Ireland. And I suppose the big talking point out of this was the non-attendance of Sam Kerr in this game, sustaining a calf injury Wednesday.
Yeah, game was played Thursday, so
The media went after her. I think the media went more after Australia not disclosing that she wasn't going to be available.
well, a lot of it was Sydney.
Citing deception and tickets and fans.
I will say when it's media, a lot of it was Sydney media, which was rugby league media. So as they will, they're rugby league, and they'll attack the player, fuck the player. So yes, they didn't disclose it. They probably gave Sam. I think they did the training session. They had a press conference straight afterwards, and Sam wasn't going to play. They knew that at that point. And that she's going to need treatment, but they didn't disclose it. It was only Ireland only found out about it when they got the team lists just before the game. So no leaks like rugby league.
Yeah, good job of keeping it under wraps, Matilda.
Very, very, very quiet, but
would love that out of the St George Illawarra Dragons.
I think they were worried it might hurt the fans. They might not show up. They're there to see Sam Kerr. But a day out, you've already bought tickets.
They already had 700,000.
I don't think it would have mattered.
It's garbage.
It's garbage
journalism as per usual.
There was more Matilda's jerseys sold leading up to this World Cup than there was like Socceroo jerseys sold last time around. People are getting behind.
Fucking oath. It's not like they were scrapping for tickets, and the fact that Sam Kerr didn't play
was going to hurt the game.
No, it's just gutted journalism again from the Australian and the Sydney media. I hope Sam Kerr is good to go. She's going to miss these couple of group games.
They said 2 games, and we'll have to reevaluate her. So I think, and
we've also won, and Canada and Nigeria drew. So barring some kind of catastrophe, that's fine. Let's get Sam Kerr healthy and get the best female soccer player in the world up front striking for the Matildas. I thought it was a bit of a joke the way that the media handled this, as if it was a deliberate thing to sell tickets to withhold the fact that Sam Kerr wasn't going to be playing. I thought it was gross, and I thought it took away from a huge event in women's sport and football.
I think exactly. And I think the timing's probably important. Like, if it had been a month ago and they'd known and they'd sat on it for ages, it's like, oh yeah, that's deception of the highest order. But 24 hours out, they've got a late injury. Fuck, it could have been in the warm-up when she gets scrapped, and it wouldn't have mattered as much. But I don't think it would have mattered that week at all if they'd found out a little bit earlier. But I think the media going after it was the wrong thing. But caveat, we're all talking about it. We all then tuned in to watch it. I think they had at their peak over 2 million people watching the game at once, and I think they had 4 million in total to tune in over the course of the game, which is great numbers. I think it's comparable to Orange in numbers in this country. So that's numbers in this country. My Donald Trump hands. I was like, fuck it, we're watching too much Donald. That's in this country. I don't know what the. I was doing it good as well.
Oh, they smell like Stormy Daniels. So apologies to Storms. We just want them in Manchester.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what it was worldwide, what kind of numbers they were. It would be really interesting to see
huge.
Yeah, I would love to see what it is. Those kind of numbers. Back of all accounts, it's doing really well. So this is what Victoria's going to miss out with not having the Commonwealth Games, etc., etc. But it's been good. What are some of the other results we've had there, baby?
Just quickly back to the Ireland game.
Ireland very aggressive.
They played well. They played well. It was a Steph Catley pen that split it. We dominated possession. We had way more shots on target, or shots in general. Just weren't very clinical. It was quite scrappy, but we get the penalty goal to win it. And like we just mentioned, Canada failing to get the win against Nigeria. They were the main concern, I think, in this group. So we play Nigeria. What night is that?
It's right there, 27th. So in 4 days.
Yes.
So win that, we're straight through. Draw that, we're probably through. And Canada, really the biggest concern in our group.
Yeah. As always, losing is the biggest concern, but if they do the job, they'll be fine. What did you go through Group A? How did New Zealand? They haven't played a second game, but
the other game in that one was Switzerland and Philippines. Philippines is asterisk on the Philippines. Yeah. I was going through the team list. It's essentially anyone that's got a hint of Filipino in them, born in America and Australia and whatnot. Apparently, watch out for them, but the Swiss girls got the job done in that one. Group C, Japan and Spain making pretty light work of Costa Rica and Zambia. Japan, formerly World Cup champions, and very, very good in women's soccer. Interesting that Denmark and England kind of struggled to get over the line against Haiti and China in Group D. And all eyes on the four-time champions and defending champs in the USNA, 3-0 winners against Vietnam. A lot of sort of rhetoric and memes getting around, bit of fortunate son playing, it ain't me, kind of chat getting around.
Years, bro.
No, America won this one. Yeah. Didn't waste, I'm not going to go. Not going to go down there.
50 years ago, bro.
Yeah, let's not go down there. Vietnam actually played reasonably well
against against the American side.
That's right. A double for Sophia Smith, who I believe is 18, is maybe the future of chick soccer. 22, pretty close. And then Group F, which has France, Jamaica, Brazil, Panama, and Sweden, South Africa, Italy, Argentina.
Should have a result. Pretty close in
they were today.
France-Jamaica game. That was
Sweden beat South Africa, and that's about it. That's about it. Yes, that's about it.
France, Jamaica.
And France playing Jamaica. So Jamaica going to get away with a
draw.
My chat, as a guy that doesn't mind a little flutter, a little sports bet here and there, leave these games alone, boys. I thought America were about to put 16 on Vietnam, and they weren't able to do it. I thought England would have covered their line against Haiti. Didn't do it. Japan and Spain, thank you, girls, for getting some ticks in my multis. It seems the minnow nations are not getting embarrassed so far. So far, so good. So
it looks like it'll be a competitive series, and we'll see how I think the European teams are probably the strongest, with the Yanks, of course. So.
Yeah, I think pre-tournament it was all about America and then England, Germany. Watch out, Spain, and then the rest from there.
Australia.
Oh, Group H we didn't mention, which is Germany, Morocco, Colombia, Korea. We'll get a look at them tomorrow. All right, boys. Lionel Messi, the GOAT.
GOAT.
Yeah.
I've always kind of leaned Messi in the Messi-Ronaldo GOAT chat, obviously, you know, athletically or finishing outside the box or power, you probably lean towards Ronaldo. Maybe the metric that they're going to, their legacy is going to go down to is how they finish their career and the interest that it brought from foreigners or casual fans of the game.
Because interesting stat I saw during the week, considering both are now not playing in Europe, they've now moved outside of Europe. Who do you think leads the goal scored in Europe?
Between those two? Mm-hmm. I've got 50-50 here. I'll go Harry Kane.
Not Harry Kane.
I'll go Messi.
Yeah, Messi by one.
Oh, is it one?
Yeah, one goal.
That's total goals in Europe ever.
Yeah. So now that they're both, I think it was 808 to 807. Might have been the stat. But it was, one more goal to Messi over Ronaldo. And since both probably not going to go back to Europe to finish off their careers playing in other ends, it's interesting, the comparison. We talk about the comparison. But like you said, I think, and I've been saying it to you boys during the week, I think what Messi will do for Major League Soccer, again, it is American market, so it is a bit different to what Ronaldo's going to do with the Saudi League. I think that's going to be huge, massive, and we're already seeing it after one game. The bump up in the value in the clubs, the amount of interest in it,
average ticket
sales, and then the people like the celebrities showing up to the games, like it's
Serena, LeBron, Kim K,
to name a couple. Like it's already starting there, and you can see that Messi's going to be a massive thing for their club. And of course the Beckhams were there at that game too, of owning the club. So. Yeah, and as he does, GOAT things, winning the game in overtime from a penalty, from a
overtime. Got that real American feel about it.
Overtime, yes.
Absolutely worldly finish there from the free kick, and his old mate Iniesta might be going. Well, he's going over. So a lot of interest down there in South Beach, and I think the comparison is fair for Messi and Ronaldo and the way that they finish their careers. Now, not to take away from the Saudis, have been.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo will probably make more money over there than Messi will, but I think what Messi will do for that league might be bigger in the world eye than what. And the Saudis
I think the legacy as well has to be a talking point at least.
Yeah, that's it. Whereas Messi's gone, obviously he's getting paid, but for Messi going to Inter Miami to help build that league, to help build soccer, football in the US speaks more to Messi's legacy than Cristiano getting paid out by the Saudi league to go play for them.
Yep, agree.
We'll keep an eye on the girls. We'll obviously talk about it next week. Hopefully our Matildas get through scotch-free. And we've got round of 16 here. I think that's worth looking at. So we're Group B, aren't we? So winner gets runner-up of Group D. So if you wouldn't mind scrolling up, Monks. And Group D, is that England's?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we win, we probably get Denmark or China or Haiti.
Yep.
Assuming that the Lionesses, after winning the Euros, finish first in that one.
It's interesting. Denmark won that game against China with a 90th minute goal. So
real late. The Danes getting up in that one. Good week for the Danes with the Tour de France and that could be Australia and the Danes going head to head as we saw in the World Cup as well.
With the rise,
so we don't want to be runners up in our group.
We'll get England. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to probably have to play England at some point in this tournament. So,
well, you need to beat everyone if you want to be the best.
Yes, true.
Thank you, John Madden.
Yeah. With the rise of MLS, they did remind me that arena football is back. They're back next
Arena sneaking back onto the Esky somehow.
Yeah, arena football's back next year, and then slam ball is also back. It's got an ESPN deal, so some of those fringe side show
slam ball.
Sports in America are back on the ESPN. So maybe they'll get a few shout out beers in the Esky for shits and giggles.
And in other news, cornhole and line dancing are also on ESPN. The old show.
Weight line distance. ESPN.
They're doing the nut push.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll it into the On The Esky fun around. Let's start with the UFC. Big day in fighting and a big weekend next week.
Next week's the big one.
We're going to talk about the O2 Arena. We're going to talk about England and it was a mixed night for the Pommies. Paul Craig getting a win against Andre Muniz from elbows. He wants Bo Nickel.
Yeah, that's what he said in post-fight, after the fight. And he's called him out, and it's probably not a bad comparison considering they both won recently. I don't think Craig's ranked at the moment, but they kind of both on the cusp of being ranked. So, yeah, it's not bad. A bit of a fun fight there.
From what I saw a couple of weeks ago, good luck to Paul Craig.
Yeah. Anyone,
that's my thoughts.
Anyone taking it, but he's calling him out. So, that's good for that storyline versus the recent kind of cans that Bo Nickel's been getting. So, yeah, that could be a good one there for Craig.
Featherweight, the Londoner Nathaniel Wood getting the job done against American Andre Philly. This one went down to a decision. It was unanimous. Thank God the judging saw it the way that the viewers did in this one. I think Nathaniel Wood, the winner for mine. The big upset. Not upset.
Not upset.
Upset, but the crowd was upset. Let me put it that way. In Molly McCann, Meatball Molly, getting submitted via armbar to Yulia Stoliarenko. She had 10 submissions, 10 by armbar. You can't get caught in her grasp because she will fucking break your arm. And
very Ronda-esque.
Yeah. Rondenko, I think was what I was talking about in the chat. Yes. Lithuanian, they tend to be known for their basketballers and not their fighters, but Stoliarenko looked pretty good there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a bit hard for Molly because I think that's back-to-back losses for her. So, I don't think she's probably going to be co-main again for a fight card at the moment. She's going to have to go away and have a bit of a work on her game. So she's overall
13-6,
yeah, but 3-4. No, go back. She's been in the UFC a fair bit actually.
Yeah.
She's quite a while.
She's a brawler, and she's a big draw card. They did say,
especially in England.
Well, there's only 2 English UFC fighters total for the girls.
For the girls again. I can name 2 others on this guy.
10 right now.
Didn't we just talk about it?
For the girls, yes.
So there's only 2 female English UFC fighters right now. So she's a big draw card for girls and for English fans. And yeah, she's coming off 2 losses. Had 3 wins before that and 2 losses before that. So her last 7, she's 3-4. She's also very likable, very marketable, hard on sleeve kind of fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we'll have to go away, and work on the game as always, and then work our way back up in that division. And it's always tough for the girls because I feel like the girls divisions, because being so, I guess, new into the UFC, you look at what Ronda, every year the division just gets that magnitude better, and you really have to keep improving your game to stay at the top. So, go gas credit to Nunes and Valentino, etc., for being dominant champs for so long, because it does progress very, very quickly as the talent improves in those divisions.
A big return to the octagon for Tom Aspinall, defeating Marcin Tybura in the first round. Really paced him up.
Looked very good on the feet.
Looks good. Coming back from a pretty nasty MCL that he suffered, I think, in the same arena last year. And he looks like a pretty handy heavyweight fighter. He did say that he's going to go down to Paris and watch Garn. Who is Cyril Garn fighting? Bring up the next Garn fight.
Because he wants the winner of that, and then he wants
John Jones, and said he'll beat John Jones. Maybe that's hyperbolic.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But
I feel at this point, I feel Jones will beat Stipe, and then if he can't get a Francis or a Fury fight, he would go into the sunset and retire. That's kind of where I think John Jones is. I don't feel like John Jones wants to reign over the heavyweight division for another decade, like fighting everyone and clearing out the division like he did light heavyweight.
Garn has Sergey Spivak, so Aspinall probably will get the winner of those two.
Where's he ranked at the moment?
He'd be going up. He was top 6, I think, top 8.
Yeah, that's fair then.
Before then. Monks will have it. It won't be updated, you wouldn't think, given that.
Well, they can be pretty quick on it.
It can be. That fight was about 12 hours ago of time of recording. So we'll see what the rankings are there. He's a good story, Tom Aspinall. He's from the north of England. His dad was one of the pioneers of jiu-jitsu in England.
Mm-hmm. He's got great size as well. Like
he's huge.
But he's also proportionally really well. Like he's thick all over. Like he doesn't have kind of like the. He's got a very prototypical like body shape. He moves really well. He's really quick for a big man. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how far he goes. Where's he ranked there, Jimmy?
5. Yeah. Not sure if that's been updated yet though.
But still, that's a good ranking. And then I think what he said there, Gunn, that will definitely be ranked ahead of him. So,
well, he's actually ranked higher than Sergey Spivak, who Gunn will fight.
Yeah, so I think he's thinking Gunn will win, and then he'll want to fight Gunn for a number 1 contenders, which is fair.
Talk about UFC 291.
We should, because it's a massive card coming up.
It's pretty stacked. This is as close to a stack card that one will see. The draw card obviously is Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje at lightweight. Boys, what are our thoughts around this one?
Yeah, I saw something during the week that they're almost identical. Like for size, careers, ages, things like that. They're very, very, very similar. Kind of similar sort of fighters. Have they fought before?
I'm just looking.
Did it say
now.
2? I feel like they have. Could be wrong, but they've both had the same sort of trajectory. Both lost to Khabib, but I feel like Dustin's probably a step ahead. It's whether Gaethje's improved his game to then get the win. Born same year as we. What are we doing with our lives?
Nothing. Bro, you look at that and you're like, oh, well, they're the same age as us. So, okay. It's good, like when you see guys that are going to the NFL and like, born when?
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah, this millennium. Scroll.
2018.
They did.
Yeah,
They did
5 years ago.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago. They both fought Chandler recently as well, so that's probably a common opponent, and I think they both won there. So I just think this is going to be, let's hope it's a war that we think it's going to be. It's going to be an excellent fight, back and forth. I think Dustin, for me, is probably the more technical and complete fighter, but you never know with Justin. With Gaethje, he might have gone away and improved his game in the interim. So we'll see.
We are talking about two of the guys who have zero respect for their body, some of the least respect for their body out of any fighters in the UFC. I don't think this one will disappoint. I think we'll see fireworks. Hard to split them for mine. Maybe the mental advantage of Poirier having the win against Gaethje, albeit 5 years ago. It's going to be fireworks, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Like, obviously with Poirier's, his latest record, besides that loss to Oliveira, is Chandler, but his wins have been against McGregor and Dan Hooker's have taken a bit of a slide.
Yeah.
So he hasn't really had like that top level competition that probably Gaethje's sort of been fighting for.
But besides
the top,
Chandler's,
And he beat the biggest name in the division twice.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He's been at the top.
It'll be interesting.
He's been up there for a very, very long time. So
the blokes lost to Khabib and Charles Oliveira. I think he'll be okay.
Oh, that was what was announced during the week. Oliveira versus Islam. But we'll talk about that when it gets closer. But that was announced during the week.
You're talking about Oliveira versus Volk's bitch.
Yes. He's ducking Volk.
Sorry, Alex, just talking for you. Sorry.
Agree. Co-main.
Yeah.
Co-main, and this one, I'm maybe more fired up about this one.
I am too. And I just checked.
It's exciting.
Still no official news if it's going to be for the title or not. it makes too much sense, but then again, maybe they want to wait and then make one of the other light heavyweight fights coming up. But this to me makes the most sense for a light heavyweight championship fight. But
we are, of course, talking about Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Pereira obviously getting the belt back down at middleweight against Israel Adesanya, and then the Potan, the concrete hands. He's going up to fight a big Eastern European. This one's saucy, boys.
yeah, it is for mine. They're both big hitters, big power guys. I don't envision Jan trying to wrestle in this at all, though he can because he did it to Israel. That is the caveat. He might go out there and see. Does he test to see how much power Alex has, or does he just take him down and get the job done and get out of there? I think that's probably going to be the big talking point. Me personally, I'd love to see them stand up and throw bazookas at each other and see what happens. But Jan might be too smart for that, and then we'll have to see what Alex can do with the wrestling.
The undercard is
Tasty.
probably the most stacked undercard. I'm saying I'm really talking up
looking
this,
through all those
it
names.
is,
but it's wild. It's wild, the names. We're talking Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green at lightweight. We're talking Michael Chiesa and Kevin Holland at welterweight. We're talking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Michael Pereira at welterweight. We're talking Derek Lewis against Marcos Rogero. It's a pretty wild card, this one.
Yeah, definitely. I like Bobby Green against Ferguson. I think Ferguson's pretty close to retirement. Yeah. Kevin Holland and Michael Chess will be an interesting fight because Kevin really struggles with ground guys, and Michael Chess is like one of the better ones on the ground. So I prefer Kevin Holland to win that fight. I'm a bit of a Kevin Holland stan, so I'll take that one there. And I'd love to see Derek Lewis get a win. And Stephen Thompson, Mark Pereira. It will be a fun fight, actually. Pereira is one of those you got to tune in and see what he does kind of things.
Brazilians, you can never count them out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How old is the Wonder Boy these days? He'd be
getting up there, close.
40.
40.
Yeah.
40. Yeah.
Jeez.
So he's fighting a bloke 11 years his junior.
When does he become Wonder Man?
Oh, good question.
True that.
When does he become Wonder Grandpa? Because
Wonder retired.
yeah, he's pretty close to that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think it was that. I was thinking late 30s. So there you go.
Yeah, he's been around a hot minute.
40 years for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It's a massive card. It's a pretty quick turnaround as well.
Oh, yeah. The BMF title's up for that for Poirier Gage.
Just noticed that as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think they said Masvidal's going to present it, but I can't deny or confirm that.
Talk a bit of boxing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Quickly, I think Jake Paul and Nate Diaz is next weekend as well. So
That's crept up.
yeah, it's crept up very quickly. We'll see what a result in that's going to look like. Looks like Nate Diaz hasn't pinged any weed test in the lead up to it. So hopefully that fight will go down. And then the big one we want to talk about was Kambosos getting the win, getting the IBO title, I believe, today. But it looks like he unfortunately was on the end of a robbery in his favour.
Not unfortunately.
Where the judges ruled him majority winner, but I think it was, what do we say? It was 114 draw from one judge.
It was horrible.
115, 113 for the other guy, and then he got 117, 111 for him.
Yeah.
So he wins on majority points.
So where is boxing at as a sport? That one judge can score at a draw, one can score at 117, 111, and one can score at 115, 113.
Yeah, well, are they watching two different fights?
It's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here, guys? There's three judges.
Yeah.
Surely it's going to be ballpark.
Considering as well, we're probably going into one of the biggest like periods of massive boxing fighting coming up as well, because there's that Fulton. Was it Intani? How do you say the? I think he's Japanese. Scroll up, Jimmy. Scroll. This guy's name.
Oh, the guy that Costa Zoo fought? Yeah, Inoue, maybe?
Inoue. So that's there. He's got all the belts in his division, and Fulton's up there. Then you got Spencer Crawford following it like 2 weeks later. Then we had the announcement of Canelo. Who's he fighting now? But there's so many going on, and then there's talk about Henny getting a fight too in the not too distant future as well. So like in that middleweight division, they the core kind of boxers outside of the heavyweights that everyone knows, like the big names in all those other divisions, are all like fighting each other in the next 6 months. So then to have these kind of results and decisions really paints a poor picture for boxing, unfortunately. I don't know what to do, though.
How do you fix it? It's an old sport.
Well, that's the problem. Maybe it was fixed. They had the right judge. By all accounts, I think it was Hughes who was Kambosos was fighting.
Yep.
Yeah, won a pretty clear fight. But Kambosos gets a belt. Australian gets a belt.
No arguments here.
Yeah, no arguments here for that at all. I think I saw he was ranked 7th in the lightweight division. The lightweight division's stacked in boxing at the moment. But yeah, getting a belt that will then help push his chances to then go, take on someone like Henny, who's undisputed at the moment with the top belts, the world belts. So, yeah. I don't know what you do in boxing. Just watch the heavyweights. Enjoy them.
Well,
the good thing about the boxing is they largely knock each other out, so you don't have to worry about each other. That's enjoyable.
At heavyweight.
Yeah, at heavyweight.
I suppose it's the same in the UFC.
Yeah.
F1 boys goes to Hungary.
Yes. Jimmy, do you want to hear some yum yum yums?
Best one have we got?
Bastian Vettel.
So that Grand Prix will start in about 45 minutes. Hamilton steals pole from Max Verstappen, which was pretty impressive. Max will start second. Then the McLarens keep their run of form. They're third and fourth. So there's a bit of chat between, Red Bull, of course, dominating all the qualifying, and now with Aston Martin also falling back. The new tyre compounds for Pirelli have maybe hindered them a little bit and then benefited other teams. But it's interesting that mid-season-ish we've got some challenges now to Max Verstappen, and we'll have to see how he plays out in that race. But big storyline, of course, was Danny Rick being back. Qualified 13th, made Q2, out-qualified his teammate in Yuki, who finished 17th. Close to Perez, who was 9th. The Perez crashed in FP1, so the footsteps maybe in the rearview mirror there for Perez. Be interesting to see what Ricciardo does in this race. So tune in for that in, like I said, 45 minutes. That's really the big things for F1. Are some reports on cost cap breaching again. Looking at 3 teams under investigation. I think the reports are saying Alpine and Aston confirmed. They're 2 of them. And then it's between either Mercedes or Red Bull for that 3rd spot. But we'll see.
F1 casual here. Danny Rick's driving for AlphaTauri.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which is Red Bull's 2nd team officially. But they've been the worst team currently in Formula 1. So him qualifying 13th is pretty good. They've scored 2 points in the whole season.
And Tsunoda is the other driver?
Yes.
Yep.
Yuki from he's Japanese.
Yep.
So could Danny Rick perhaps be taking that number 1 seat? Any chance?
For AlphaTauri, I reckon he's probably their primary driver.
Yeah, they've said,
he's their number 1 driver.
He's there to compete with Yuki. They've said that. We wanted to see what Yuki Tsunoda's got. He was beating Nick de Vries handedly. He's now got a Formula, Grand Prix winner in Ricciardo across from him now. So they're in competition, and you can already see that Danny's got a bit more pace. He qualified better. Let's see what they do in the race. But then Danny's also got the job. He's looking for Perez's seat. He wants that's what he's hoping for 2024, 2025. But yeah, for if Yuki again, because AlphaTauri, they'll rename that team, but they're the young Red Bull driver school, I think is kind of what they call it. They all go through it. Like Danny went through Toro Rosso, which is now AlphaTauri. They all kind of come through that team to then make it into the top team being Red Bull. So if Yuki wants to push for, say, Perez to seat himself, he's got to beat Danny and beat him convincingly. So it looks like Perez might be safe for next year, but we'll see. They come in Grand Prix, but his seat's been chased for probably 2025 at this point, if not next year.
That's it. I think, we sort of mentioned it the other week, like Ricardo's aim isn't to necessarily beat Perez on race day. I don't think AlphaTauri has the pace in their car to compete on race day.
But if he does,
show that he can perform. If he does,
it's like better. Serious questions.
But for him, it's just being able to put in real good qualifying times. At least have good track position on race day. If he can out qualify Perez as well, with Perez crashing out in some of the early sessions recently, then that just starts the rumour mill. Yeah.
Well, like it's his first time he's made Q3 in 5 races, I think, for Perez, that is. But he also still qualified 9th when his teammate's second. So, they're definitely asking questions, and Danny's job in the rest of the season is to make those questions bigger and whether they should think about changes.
Yeah.
What's happening in the golf, Pepe?
That's again pending weather, but Brian Harmon has a massive lead. And who is Brian Harmon, you might ask? I am asking the same question. He's a bloke that looks a little bit like Ricky Ponting, so there's a few memes that have been getting around. Ricky Ponting himself, quite a good golfer. He's a 36-year-old from Georgia, and he's got a really handy lead, 5 shots going into the final day there in Liverpool. Hoylake is the location of the Open this year. It's about an hour drive from Old Trafford, so I imagine the weather might be similar. You know, Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid chat, etc. It's might be a bit of a theme for 2023 in majors, and obviously Wyndham Clark winning the last one in blokes that are not that highly touted. Although Brian Harmon, he did finish second in the US Open back in 2017, but outside of that, not really results to write home about. The Aussies have played pretty well. Jason Day's still up there. If anyone was to snatch victory from Brian Harmon, it could be Cam Young, it could be John Rahm, it could be Victor Hovland. But he's got a 5-shot lead going into the last day. Something really nasty would have to happen for him to not walk away as a winner.
Checking for weather updates. It looks like it's still raining.
Rain, baby. Let it rain.
Keep
That's
going.
it.
Rain on me. Pitbull, Mr. 305, thank you. We'll keep conjuring rain. We'll keep praying. Piers Morgan's tears hopefully will continue to descend on the greater Manchester area. Maybe a golf result would be nice. Just rain on Manchester, not Liverpool. And we'll see what happens. Boys, thank you for this evening. Thank you for the dribble, the yarn.
As always.
That is the Esky. I think we're back next week. Next week should be sweet for Sunday. Thank you to those that have listened live. Thank you to those that are catching the podcast.
Midweek.
We will hopefully have a 2-1 retention when we wake up in the morning.
Fingers crossed.
Big week next weekend with UFC 291. The weekends footy and just crawling closer to that NFL start date. The Matildas Thursday night.
Yep.
Thursday night. We win. We're through. I think a lot of it's going to come down to that knockout game in the round of 16 and which team we get.
Yep.
Sam Kerr, hopefully no backflips this week at training. She should be good to go by those knockout games. And we might be talking about Brian Harmon winning the Open in the golf tonight.
Very good.
Until next week.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you. Conjure the rain.
Rain.
Bye.
Bye.